our challenges can be just the thing needed the to create that often eludes us. By voting, you assert your right to participate in the decisions that shape your world. It is a civic duty. It is a privilege. Each election is an opportunity to change, to a chance to voice your opinions, to make your desires known. Don't let anyone, and I'm happy that Ryan brought it up a little bit about the testimony that we were having during the time of us passing this bill. There were a lot. He was nice about it, but I can say it now, Madam Clerk. There were a lot of people that were getting up talking about you had no right to vote. Lots. Some advocates, some activists saying that you just don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're talking about in order to have the right to vote. And so don't let anyone convince you that your vote does not count. That's what they want you to believe, that your vote doesn't matter, that you should stay home because it's a waste of your time. Each vote is the declaration of your values, your hopes, your vision for your community. As we look ahead, I urge each of you to become active participants in democracy. Talk to your peers, engage in discussions about the issues that matter, and most importantly, vote. Thank you for the time today. It is really warming. I feel like this moment right now is a full circle moment for me because, as many know, I got involved in politics at age 10. I had a great teacher who was running for office at the time and taught us how to get civically involved and what it meant to be involved. So to be able to have this opportunity to sponsor and champion this legislation, to see it come into fruition, it is just full circle for me of why we have to engage our young people at an early age in the civic process. So Godspeed to you all. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you who are able at the polls in April 2025. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to the team.
All right, another round of applause for Congresswoman McIver. Yeah, and just so for those of you who don't know, there is a bill that's been introduced in the U.S. House of Congress that would lower the voting age, and it's sponsored by Representative Grace Meng from New York. So we hope Congresswoman McIver gets on that train when Congress is back. All right, so now I'm excited to bring to the podium our next special guest, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy. Round of applause. Yeah, what a real treat. So as you may know, Governor Murphy has been a champion of many pro-democracy issues, including voter registration options, expanding jury service, and restoring the right to vote to people on parole and probation. And now he's putting his voice behind the reason why we're here today, to lower the voting age to 16 in school board elections. Governor Murphy has been passionate about this issue. He even mentioned in his State of the State address earlier this year, just one day before Newark passed its historic ordinance. And he's shown support for the young people involved in our campaign. And we know we can count on him to continue to champion this issue as we spread the groundbreaking movement throughout all of New Jersey. So please join me in welcoming Governor Murphy for some special remarks.
Let's hear it one more time for Asata. What happened to LaMonica? LaMonica, that was awesome. I only caught the end of it. More on you in a moment, if I may. Again, I want to thank Asata for that very kind introduction, along with all of her colleagues at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice for hosting this vitally important summit. I want to give a shout out to my dear friend Ryan Haygood and his senior staff, and his family, by the way, who are with him today, which is cool, members of the board. This is one of these invitations that took me about a half a second to accept, and more on that in a second, and Asada kind of previewed some of this already. It is such a thrill, by the way, to be here on the Rutgers campus in Newark, a city that has long stood at the forefront of our movement to empower and mobilize the young voters of New Jersey, but more on that in a moment. And by the way, you all likely know this. This is the most diverse institution of higher education in the United States of America, right? And how cool is it to be in a building with Paul Robeson's name on it? God rest his soul. I want to thank all of the tremendous leaders here today who are doing their part to ensure that New Jersey is home to the strongest and most vibrant democracy in the entire nation, starting with the woman you just heard from, New Jersey's newest Congresswoman, LaMonica McIver. And LaMonica, yeah, you don't get that every day. LaMonica, your presence at today's summit is especially fitting because of last month, you are now the youngest person to represent the great Garden State in Congress. Yeah. By the way, if that weren't enough, before that, you were also the youngest person ever elected to Newark's City Council. So really, it's quite fitting because your story is proof that when young New Jerseyans are given a chance to lead, our entire state succeeds. God bless you and congratulations again. He's not here, but I want to thank, and I know he's coming in right after me, your extraordinary mayor, Ras J. Baraka, who's welcoming us to the Brick City today. If you have not read it, Mayor Baraka is the subject of a long-form profile in New Yorker magazine, which is stunning. And I think it's the longest profile in New Yorker magazine of a New Jersey elected official in a long, long time. And it captures not just Raz's personal history, but the history of this extraordinary community. I want to again thank the mayor along with all of his fellow municipal leaders, including my friend right over there, Junius Williams, Newark's historian. Junius, bless you. I also want to thank all the organizations represented here today. Not a complete list, but Make the Road, NAACP Youth and College Division, the New Jersey Black Empowerment Coalition, the Andrew Goodman Foundation, and so many others, frankly, too many to name. But I do want to give an extra special shout out to a couple of groups and a few folks who have truly changed the game when it comes to youth voting rights in New Jersey. First, the wonderful leaders with the GEM project. And in particular, its founder and CEO, Amanda Ibakosia, along with, where's Amanda? Is she here? Not yet, she's coming. Please tell her I said nice things about her. Along with two of the GEM Project's fellows and Newark's very own Brianna Campbell. Yeah, is Brianna here? Right there, Brianna, I love you. And Nathaniel Esibonteng. Is Nathaniel here? Right behind you. Love you both. As you all know better than I, Brianna, Nathaniel, and their team at the GEM Project played a leading role in scoring a major victory for our state's democracy just earlier this year, when Newark became the largest community in the United States of America to expand voting rights to younger Americans in more than a half a century. And if that weren't enough, alongside of them, someone else who has taken the baton from the GEM Project, who is fighting to expand voting rights to young New Jerseyans, and in every, not just in Newark, but in every corner of the state, Anjali Krishnamurti. Is Anjali here? Right in front of me, Anjali. We were all together a couple of days ago at Hoboken High singing the same tune. But Anjali, it's great to see you again. You are the co-founder and co-executive director of Vote16 NJ, which is affiliated with Vote16 USA. I'm told the director, Lawan Allen, is with us. Lawan, God bless you, honored. Great to have you in the Brick City, in the Garden State, and to each and every one of you. So last year, when I first learned about Anjali, as well as her fellow Vote16 NJ co-founder, Yenjay Hu. Yenjay's not here, sorry. Please give him a hug for me when you see him. When I learned about them and their mission to secure voting rights for 16 and 17-year-olds in New Jersey, I was immediately intrigued. Because I can tell you from personal experience, it is no small feat to organize a political movement with either a citywide or a statewide reach. And that is especially true when it is a movement that has been mobilized to enact a proposal that no other state has ever enacted. New Jersey would be the first in the nation to take this step. But Anjali and Yenjay, as well as Brianna and Nathaniel and every advocate supporting this movement, were not daunted by that challenge, either in Newark or around the state. Instead, they sensed an opportunity to strengthen New Jersey's democracy, and they have seized that opportunity with pluck and determination. And that is because they believe that encouraging young New Jerseyans to participate in our political process is really about investing in the long-term health of our democracy. It is about empowering our young neighbors to take control over their own futures. And as the father of four, I agree wholeheartedly. This mission is of monumental importance for all of us and to me personally. And that's exactly why earlier this year, as was mentioned during my annual State of the State address, with Anjali and Yenjay right with me, I called upon our state legislature to pass this legislation this year so we can expand voting rights in local school board elections to every 16 and 17-year-old in New Jersey. And I want to acknowledge all of the lawmakers. I don't think any of them are with us this morning, but in absentia, acknowledge them who have now been leading the charge on our behalf to turn this legislation into law. They include Senators Raj Mukherjee, Brian Stack, and Andrew Zwicker, and Assemblywoman Newark's own Cleopatra Tucker, Verlina Reynolds Jackson, Jessica Ramirez, Shama Hader, Garnet Hall, and Assemblyman Chris Tully. I am incredibly grateful for their courageous leadership. As I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, a bunch of us, including Raj and Cleo, were together at Hoboken High earlier this week singing the same song. So let's be also clear about this, and Ryan and I were talking about this before I came up here. They cannot win this fight on their own, which is why we all need to speak up and encourage their colleagues in the state legislature to join them in supporting this measure. It's an interesting thing. It's got a lot of people who would normally be staunch allies a little bit nervous. A municipal chair reached out to me a couple of days ago on Thursday and said, you know what? I'm a little nervous allowing folks as young as 16 and 17 to have their voice. And again, this is someone who's an ally in the cause for not just me, but for all of us. So that gives you an idea. This is not going to be an easy mountain to scale to get that law passed and on my desk. And by the way, when it does get there, I will be thrilled to sign it into law. Now, there is a simple reason why I have spoken so forcefully in support of this proposal. It is because young students, like many of you here today, are the future of New Jersey. And you deserve the right to shape your future instead of leaving it exclusively in the hands of previous generations of leaders like yours truly. And that is all the more important when you consider the state of our world today. You and your peers are inheriting a planet that not only seems to be growing more complicated and more confusing by the day, from COVID to climate change to two full-on wars, the times we are living in are anything but ordinary. But despite the scope and scale of the challenges we face, the truth is I have never been more optimistic about our nation's future than I am today. And that is precisely because of students and young leaders like you. Each one of you is a part of a generation that is more educated, more compassionate, and more engaged than perhaps any other generation in human history. And as the future leaders of our state, and I might add of our nation, we, the leaders of today, need to set each of you up to succeed any way we can. And that means, among other things, giving you the power early on in life to shape our political system at the most fundamental level, including your local school boards, which directly inform the day-to-day lives of our state students. But just as importantly, fighting for youth voting rights is also about encouraging our young neighbors to become lifelong voters, because we know that when someone votes in one election, they are far more likely to turn out and vote in the next election. This directly builds what some folks would call muscle memory. So with your continued advocacy and with this legislation, we can ensure that New Jersey's democracy is stronger and more accessible than that of any other state in our country. And truth be told, building a stronger, healthier democracy for New Jersey has been one of our administration's highest priorities since the very beginning. In fact, over the past now almost 7 years, and Asada referred to some of this, we have been proud to work alongside the New Jersey Institute of Social Justice, as well as many of the organizations represented here today, to both protect and expand voting rights in the Garden State. Together, we have enacted new online and automatic voter registration laws. We've made it easier than ever before for New Jerseyans to vote early, whether in person or by mail. We've expanded the right to vote to 17-year-olds in primary elections if they will be 18 by the time of the general election. And again, as Asada referred to this, and I think most profoundly, we have also restored voting rights to more than 80,000 New Jerseyans on either parole or probation. So all together, and I might add under the exceptional leadership of the Lieutenant Governor and Secretary of State from day one, and you all know this, but the Secretary of State oversees all of our elections, Tahisha Way. And by the way, alongside the Institute, Ryan, and so many other like-minded organizations, we have helped more New Jerseyans than ever access the ballot box. And of course, Tahisha stepped into the enormous shoes of the late, great Lieutenant Governor Sheila Y. Oliver before her, Newark's own. Let's hear it for Sheila. So all of us together have welcomed a historic number of new voices to the chorus of our state's democracy, and that is an accomplishment we all wear as a badge of honor. And let me just say emphatically, we are not done. So as we continue to move forward, I'm counting on each one of you to work with us in taking perhaps our boldest step yet by allowing young New Jerseyans to add their voices to the chorus of democracy as well. And once I sign this legislation into law, each one of you will be able to say that you played a part in making New Jersey the first state in the entire nation to secure voting rights for Americans as young as 16-year-olds. It will be an historic accomplishment that began right here in Newark, thanks to the leadership of emerging visionaries like Brianna and Nathaniel and their colleagues. And it will be yet another reason that we can proudly shout to anyone who will listen that we're from Jersey, baby, and you're not. So, just had to sneak that in. So before I wrap things up, I do have one final request. We have 30 days to go to the most consequential election of not just your lifetime, but of my lifetime as well. And given the fact that I'm joining you today in my official capacity as governor, I will refrain from speaking about my own preference in this year's presidential election, but you can imagine what that is. But I will say this, the conventional wisdom in our political discourse is that young voters under the age of 25 typically do not vote at the level they need to. And as a result, there are politicians out there who believe they can ignore the concerns of younger voters without facing any consequences. So today, in addition to asking each of you to turn out and do your part in this election, I want to ask you to encourage your friends and your peers to turn out and vote as well, particularly those who you know may not have voted in the past. With this year's election, you, the young voters of America, have a chance to prove that you're not only paying attention, but that your voices and your needs cannot be ignored. You have a chance to force our elected officials to address the issues that are most important to you, whether it be voting rights, or climate change, or foreign affairs, or anything else. With this election, you and your peers have a chance to change the course of our nation's history and the history of the world for the better. 4 years ago, and this is a good thing, in the 2020 election, New Jersey saw the highest youth turnout of any state in the nation. And now we have to prove that New Jersey will always be #1 for youth turnout in this election and in every election to come. That 2020 was not a fluke. It was the beginning of a trend with Jersey at the top of the list. So please, if you have any questions at all about how you could participate in next month's election, I encourage you to visit a website that we've set up for that very purpose, vote.nj.gov, vote.nj.gov. And make sure you and your friends are registered to vote, and be sure to make a plan to vote, whether by mail or in person. I'll be voting on the first day of early voting 3 weeks from today, October 26th, and that will run all over the state through Sunday, November 3rd. We take a day off on the 4th to reset the machines, and then game day is on Tuesday, November 5th. With this election, I don't say this lightly, and for every election yet to come, the future is literally in your hands, and I'm honored to count myself as a partner in ensuring that young New Jerseyans like you can shape that future for the better. Ryan, two other final quick thoughts. Number one, you may say, and it's a legitimate, Monica, you and I have talked about this, I think Jersey is safe for Kamala Harris. We take nothing for granted, but Jersey's safe. But I just came from Montclair, where every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, a bunch of buses get filled up and go to Pennsylvania. I hosted a debate party the other night for the vice presidential debate. Pennsylvania is on the knife's edge. And I think of the 7 or 8 battleground states that are out there, Pennsylvania is the most important. We get Pennsylvania right, I think we win the election. So if you can, I think you have to be 18 to do this, but I'm not sure. But if you can and you're interested, Montclair, Lackawanna Plaza, every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock from now till election day, they're sending buses over to PA. I encourage you to join. And the second reason why it's important to vote, not only to get Kamala Harris and Tim Walz over the goal line, we're hosting Kamala's husband, Doug Emhoff, tonight to raise a bunch of money. That's another thing that New Jersey exports. We don't not only export boots on the ground and surrogating, as I do, but also money. But there are huge down ballot consequences. Huge down ballot consequences. I think LaMonica and Ryan will agree with me. Look at the 7th congressional district. Sue Altman has a real shot to win that election. If you're in that district, or if you have friends in that district, or if you want to go in and knock on doors, you can go to Pennsylvania, but you can also go to New Jersey 7th. We have a chance to take a seat back from the other side, and in doing so, we advance our cause meaningfully that will take the entire House of Representatives back. God bless you all, and thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys, we're going to have to ask everybody to take their seats. Governor Murphy has to be on his way out, so we're just going to take a few more pics. I'm sorry to everybody who's lined up, but you're going to have to take a seat. Yep, please take a seat. All right. If you're not in the pic now, we're going to ask you to take your seat. All right. All right, can we get another round of applause for Governor Murphy and Congresswoman McIver? All right, I think Governor Murphy laid it out very, very clear. You know, we really have two goals, two big jobs ahead of us, you know, in the foreseeable future. The first one is obviously for the folks who live in Newark, who will have the right to vote in Newark, is to get ready for that election, to make sure that you are registered to vote. You know, you're informed, you're educated on how school board works, and that you also drive your peers to the polls. But for those of us who don't live in the city of Newark, we also, as Governor Murphy said, we need to give cover and support to our state legislators to get this bill through the legislature. And if not that, we need to grow individual local movements in our communities to pass ordinances. And so the rest of today's program is really geared towards that. It's geared towards making sure you have the knowledge, the skills, and all the tools you need to be the most impactful, effective organizer, activist, advocate, you name it, that you can be. So with that said, we're gonna move into our first panel of the day called Our Vote, Our Future, Why Lowering the Voting Age Matters. Excuse me. So you're gonna learn the history, current state, and the future of youth voting rights in the United States. So please help me welcome to the stage Sasha Andrews, who will be leading this discussion. Yeah, Sasha is currently a junior at Montclair State University. Sasha is a founding member of She Wins Incorporated, a nonprofit organization which was first founded by her mentor, Adorian Murray Thomas, Commissioner Adorian Murray Thomas. This summer, in her role as a peer leader for She Wins, Sasha was blessed to be able to travel to the Democratic National Convention in Chicago to advocate for the rights of Black women and girls on a national platform. So please give a round of applause to Sasha. Let's show her some love.
Good morning. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to Asada for the introduction, but also just being able to even be here. I hope you all are doing well. First, I feel like everybody's just a little bit sluggish, so I just want to say turn to your neighbor, say hi, introduce yourself, because it's all about community. So, yeah. Um, and now I just want to say, like, just being here is truly amazing. And the impact that I know we're gonna have to create the change that we want to see. And I feel like, for one, this panel is just gonna be it's just gonna show you a bit of that change that's already happening within some of our phenomenal women that are gonna be speaking today. And so let's just get started. So first, I want to introduce our first speaker, Anjali Krishnamurti. Anjali, sorry. Anjali Krishnamurti is an 18-year-old student at Harvard College who is originally from Somersville, New Jersey. She is the co-founder and executive director of Vote16 NJ. For 4 years, she has been leading the fight to lower the voting age to 16 in New Jersey through the coalition building, advocacy, and expanding civic engagement. Outside of Vote16 NJ, Krishnamurti works on political campaigns and is involved in several student organizations such as Harvard Votes, the Harvard Undergraduate Law Review, and the Institute of Politics Policy Program, where she leads a team of policy researchers to make policy recommendations that protect American democracy. She was also a 2023 New Jersey delegate for the United States Senate Youth Program, where she represented the state of New Jersey and Washington, D.C. Krishnamurti hopes to pursue a career in law, politics, and voting rights advocacy in the future. Can we give a round of applause to her? You're welcome. And next, we have Makati Vargas. Makati Vargas is an associate counsel of the Democracy and Justice Program at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. Before joining the Institute, Makati was a deputy attorney general in the 2020 New Jersey AG Honors Program. As an Honors Program deputy, she was assigned to the Division of Law, Affirmative Civil Rights and Labor Section, which investigates civil rights, labor, and workplace violations and brings appropriate actions to combat those violations. In 2020, she graduated from Rutgers Law School of Newark, where she served as the business editor of the Race and the Law Review and was co-chair of the American Constitution Society and National Lawyers Guild. In 2014, she graduated with a BA in economics from NYU. Congratulations. Get a round of applause for her. And so, before we start, would you guys like to say anything and introduce yourself if you would like?
Hello. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for the intro. It's an honor to be on stage with both of you. And it's just such an honor to be here with so many passionate youth voices. I've talked to a few of you so far, and it's just making me super, super excited for the rest of the day. So thank you all for being here.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo everything Anjali just said. Thank you so much for having us, and I'm really excited to share the stage with both of you and have this fun conversation.
Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so the first question, and this is to both of you guys. Can you just share a brief overview of the history of voting rights in the U.S., particularly how age has played a role in shaping who can vote? How have recent movements like Vote16 fit in those broader histories?
So I could start a little bit. The first thing that I thought about when you brought up that question was the history of the 26th Amendment. And students were largely behind that movement. And it definitely, a lot of the moments in history remind me of what we go through as a student movement today. So the 26th Amendment was introduced as a result of student movements from World War II until the Vietnam War, when FDR lowered the age for the draft. And the justification for people who were fighting in war, who were 18, were that we're fighting in this war and we don't have any direct say in the future of our country. So their motto was old enough to fight, old enough to vote. And yeah, do you want to speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, no, I think maybe it's because we have both the mics on at the same time, and then it just causes, yeah. Yeah, so of course, the last time we lowered the voting age at the federal level was with the 26th Amendment. And even back then, the voting age was 21, and young people at 18 were being sent out to fight, and they were, if we are being sent out to fight and die, we should have the right to vote. Similarly, one of your Vote16 New Jersey members, Sam, mentioned something like that. You know, there are a lot of, unfortunately, dangers now in this day and age when you're in the school setting. And, you know, the gun safety issue was very important to him, for instance. And it's just, he was like, they were being sent to die, and in a sense, some of us are too. And we should get a say in what that, you know, how we can protect ourselves in those settings. But just beyond that, a lot of minorities, and particularly the Black vote, was historically not something that any of us, you know, like at least over a period of 200 years, Black Americans couldn't vote, right? Then we had the Reconstruction era, the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation that technically freed slaves, but it wasn't until the 13th, 14th, and then 15th Amendment that actually granted the right to vote for Black people. That until the 1960s, we were in what is known as the Jim Crow era. And lots of people died during the process trying to get the right to vote. They were told that they needed to pass literacy tests, poll taxes, that they weren't ready to vote, that they didn't know. Similarly to how we hear some of the arguments today for why other groups couldn't vote, why women couldn't vote. You're gonna vote like your husbands. they're saying that kids are going to vote like their parents, and that could be further from the truth. And I think Anjali has a little more insight as to why that's particularly not true. Young people definitely make up their own minds separate from their parents and will make decisions for themselves. But yeah, no, it's been a long and painful and scary at times fight for the right to vote. And I feel so lucky and fortunate to work at an organization that saw that as an important next step, that this is the next group that should be enfranchised. And in particular, we're super excited that it happened here in Newark where we're housed, and it is predominantly Black and brown. So it's a rare situation where Black and brown students in the majority are going to be voting for the first time in a state that is, not predominantly Black and brown, but yet, but it's, I'm really excited to see where we go next, and hopefully more young people feel empowered to lead this fight in their own respective towns.
I couldn't agree more with what both of you guys were saying. I truly feel as though the youth is the change that we want to see. And in order for us to even have a bit of an impact or anything for the youth, we have to hear from the youth. And so I feel as though everything that you guys said stood firmly on that. Now, Angelique, I have a question for you. So what inspired you to co-found Vote16NJ, and what challenges or successes have you encountered during the process for lowering the voting age, especially in Newark?
Talking about this because I think a lot of young people resonate with my mission of why I kind of started pursuing this when it seemed very daunting at first. I was a very politically active high schooler, and I started this in between my freshman and sophomore year of high school. And I just noticed that our generation was extremely unique in how we approached issues. We were kind of forced to assume this specific passion for a lot of the issues that were going on around us because nobody was doing anything at the higher level to impact us and listen to our perspectives in a way that really resonated on the policy scale. So that unique perspective that I had of the young generation is really what drove me and continues to drive me every single day. I'm 19 years old right now. I can vote, but we're not going to stop until young people are able to vote. And there's also there are multiple other lenses to this. Turnout is what a lot of other previous speakers were discussing. As Ryan stated before, the Newark School Board election turnout was under 3%, which is extremely concerning. And if you look across the state, it's as low, if not lower. And the turnout is just getting lower and lower each year. And what this really tangibly means is that democracy in terms of our school board elections is at stake. They're anti-democratic, period. Because nobody who really has direct stake in these children's lives and these students' lives are actually showing up to the polls and actually voting and listening to these students tangibly. And this is what lowering the voting age to 16 will do. Students who have these unique perspectives, their day-to-day lives, where they're going into their schools, they're interacting with their teachers, they know the curriculum and how it affects them on a day-to-day scale, and they are concerned about their own futures. They now have the right, in Newark at least, and hopefully in cities across the state of New Jersey, they will have the right to go to their elected officials, be respected by their elected officials, and have some stake in the game so that they can bring their concerns and their unique perspectives to the table. And finally, they'll have a seat at the table. So definitely we'll never stop fighting for this issue until all 16 and 17-year-olds will be able to vote. We're starting at school board elections, but local elections are a next step, and it is truly something that will revitalize democracy and really put that passion for civic engagement to use for young people, the rest of young people's lives in the state of New Jersey.
Everything you said. Next, McCarty. My question to you is, what has been the most rewarding part of working on the Newark ordinance and statewide bill to lower the voting age?
That was an easy question. Definitely working with the young people. I'm an attorney by, my profession. I do mostly policy work at the Institute. And I don't get to typically work with younger people. And this was really exciting for me because one of my other great passions is education. I have a lot of thoughts and ideas on how we can make our education system better and empower young people. And, I ended up becoming a civil rights lawyer and fell into this amazing opportunity to work on voting issues specifically. But then when I got the opportunity to start doing some legal, connected with Anjali and Yenjay, because in the beginning of this, it was me, Anjali, Yenjay, and one of the councilmen from Westfield, right? Westfield. And we would meet every month and talk about this idea. I did some legal research. It took Ryan and Hennel, who are both my bosses at the Institute, probably like a week to say, yes, let's do this. But it wasn't, but it really wasn't even something we were planning to work on immediately. We only started working on this because of Anjali and Yenjay's enthusiasm, and that pushed me to do that legal research that was necessary to see if we could do this in New Jersey and if it could be done at the state level and at the local level. Because as Governor Murphy alluded, yeah, it's going to be a little challenging to get this done in every single city in New Jersey. People are skeptical. Town attorneys are scared to get sued. We were very fortunate in having the champion of LaMonica McIver at the council, and the fact that we're here in Newark. Our office is here in Newark, so we know some of these people already. But I think once they see Newark the Newark students make their first vote out in April, I can see a world where this is gonna be a tidal wave of cities trying to do this. And the idea is that hopefully this will be throughout the state. But currently I'm working with a bunch of other young people in East Brunswick in particular, who are very far ahead in their organizing and looking to do it. Montclair is also very interested. I know we have a few students here. Their council is already aware of the movement. So we might just have a few more cities join us very soon. But definitely working with the young people and just, I'll be honest, when I was your age, I was nothing like this. I was just not this ready for the world. But like you mentioned, you guys grew up in a different time. You had to, learn things and be more proactive than generations before you. So that idea that young people don't know what they want or what they're doing is like definitely not been my experience.
I have one more question that I want to ask both of you guys before I open questions to the audience. So the question for you guys are, youth-led initiatives have been central to many recent voting rights movements. What role do you think young advocates play in shaping policy, and how do you see that evolving as more cities and states consider lowering the voting age?
So young people already have such a huge role in policy making without the vote. You see that young people are controlling social media movements. I know you all have seen the Kamala Harris campaign, taken the world by storm, and young people are genuinely bringing back energy to democracy. But we're doing more than that, and I think there is room for improvement on the policy side of things. We are educating each other, educating ourselves on matters that matter to us. Climate change is something that is largely ignored by the older politicians who are in office because they have no reason to care about the implications. If they can pass this big spending bill that will destroy part of our country, but benefit their stakeholders and their company, then they'll do it. Young people are educating themselves, they're educating others about pressing policy matters like climate change. And they are the ones that are truly making the impact for long-term policy changes. In the future, I do see young people really taking the political world by storm even more than they do already. And all of you being here today should be excited about that. And this is the first step in doing so. You all are here learning about how to organize and advocate in your individual municipalities to lower the voting age, but also to share this excitement that you have, the excitement that you have being here today with your peers in schools. And I think the first step to that and an actionable item that you all can do is if you're a Newark student, go back to your school, tell all of your friends about your weekend and your summit experience, how it was a magical experience. You learned so much, and just spread that excitement and passion that you have, because it's something that's in every single person. We're all passionate about something. We're all passionate about some policy matter because, again, politics affects us. And that is the first step, and telling your friends to vote, telling your friends about policy matters that matter to you.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Question was, what role do you think young advocates play in shaping policy, and how do you see that evolving as more cities and states consider lowering the voting age?
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure. I mean, I think as the panel says, our vote, our future, this is really like, you will be affected by all the policies that are being enacted more than any other generation after you, because you're hopefully going to be living the longest. So all the things that adults these decisions are making, they're going to be affecting this generation the hardest, or the most positively, hopefully. And that's why, with initiatives like this, there is so much excitement, not just from the young people, but even like the democracy and voting people like me, and like you'll see like our advisor for youth in college, Maisha Z, somewhere, I don't know where she went, but and we have Generation Citizen here, Vote16 USA. This is why organizations like ours are so invested in young people, because we know that they have all those skills necessary to have a seat at the table. So for instance, I make sure that Anjali and Yanjay and as many young people as possible have their own decision-making power when it comes to our own campaign to lower the voting age in New Jersey. So we meet every so often as a coalition. We have people from Newark, from across the state join us. I work mostly with the state bill, and then Asada is leading a lot of the Newark localized efforts. But we have Yenjay and Anjali and all of Vote16 New Jersey and all the other young organizations that meet on their own and have their own plans on how to push this agenda forward. Clearly, we are in good hands. This thing wouldn't be possible today without the work of the young people.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking on the youth having a seat at the table and their voices being heard, we're going to open it all to the audience to hear from you guys. And we're going to accept 2 to 3 questions from 3 people. 2 to 3 people to pick a question. So if any of you have a question, don't be scared. They're here to answer. So any questions from the audience? And if you would like your question to be heard, just raise your hand so that I can see you to go to you. Okay. And when I give you the mic, can you please state your name?
I'm Anna Huang. I'm from Vote16NJ, co-founded by Anjali. And I just have a question since I live in a relatively conservative area. I was wondering how we can persuade our fellow young peers to believe that there is a chance of pushing this agenda, because a lot of the times the biggest hurdle is like to start it, to believe in this change like that it can happen. So that was my question.
So I think, hi Anna, nice to see you. So I think that um, the conservative side of things, it seems daunting at first to approach a conservative town where a lot of people on the right may believe that this might be a partisan ploy. We hear that a lot. And you really have to approach it with like the unity of the idea of democracy and the fact that enfranchising young people is not to sway them or try to indoctrinate them. And frankly, that's like, it's kind of offensive because we are at 16 and 17, you have your own opinions, you're developing your own ideas, and you're passionate about this. But the idea of democracy is so much more. The fact that young people should be voting to instill a sense of civic duty. And I think that is something that young people specifically on the conservative side can unite with people on the left, and go to their elected officials and say, hey, there are two groups of students here. We're both really passionate about this, and we're showing that we're willing to reach across the aisle in order to achieve this and achieve our student voices to be heard. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is, and it's no partisan ploy at all.
Yeah, I know, and it is tricky, but that's right. And the thing is that there are young people who are on, may not be agreeing with you politically, but want the same thing. But it's a tricky thing to navigate. But like using that kind of messaging, and that's what we call it, messaging, that kind of wording, the language matters, and to make it's not about democracy. I mean, we're a nonpartisan organization, so for us, it truly is about expanding the ballot to young people.
Is there anyone else with a question?
So at YMS, the Youth Medium Symposium. Oh, my name is Alexa Brownhill. I'm here with YMS Youth Media Symposium. This summer, we spent the summer developing a toolkit to educate our students and our youth that are, in our community. So I was just wondering, like, what have you guys been doing at the state level to, like, educate the youth on why it's important to vote and what the school board does and how it impacts them?
Sure. Thank you so much for the work that you've been doing. Yes, please give a round of applause to that. That's so amazing that like this is the real work on the ground, like the toolkits that you're creating, and those are going to be used as resources to really make an impact on people in your community. So that's great. At the state level, so what we've been doing, our wonderful team over here, you can actually go talk to them, but all of these Vote16 New Jersey wonderful people, they've been working really, really hard to strategize to target young people specifically in New Jersey. Whether that be through social media, we have a newsletter coming out, which a bunch of organizations and different people who are interested in the cause can sign up for. And every single month, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight a youth voice. It doesn't have to be specifically about lowering the voting age. It could be something that a political opinion that they have, just demonstrating that young people are capable of having nuanced political opinions. We really think that just like spreading the word that way throughout the state is truly going to impact the statewide legislation. But in addition to that, we're working at the grassroots level to attempt to lower the voting age in municipalities across the state. And that takes a lot more focused attention on the city itself. And Makari, I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so there are two different ways we're going about the state level effort, right? So the young people that Anjali leads, and obviously YMS is invited to attend our coalition calls and our committee meetings going forward. But, you know, the idea is that we get as many as towns and cities around New Jersey to pass a similar ordinance. And then, you know, we have that state bill that's currently in the legislature that the governor was talking about. Once these cities, as many cities households do it, then it'll force the state to have to act more widespread. Similarly, you know, we do this at the Institute often. We work on campaigns at the state level. So in order to keep the young people involved in that process, we keep the pathways of communication open constantly between our different orgs, and encourage you to share, you know, attend the meetings and share out all the work you've been doing, so you can inform each other. And as, you know, as one of the adults in the room, usually my job is to empower you guys to lead the conversation and, you know, hear where you want to take this movement. But, you know, we do need to unfortunately work with some adults to get the laws in effect.
Thank you guys for your questions. And if you didn't get to share a question, you had a question, you could probably talk to them later on because they're still here. So yeah. So the last closing question. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. The last closing question for you guys are there any final thoughts that you want to share with any of these attendees, whatever you want to say? Have it.
Sure. So my final thought, I'd say, is that a lot of this and all of this advocacy seems very, very daunting. It was so daunting to me when I was literally a freshman in high school and shaking to unmute on a Zoom call during COVID, and everything was on Zoom, so it was like horrible. But I'd say take it day by day. If you're really passionate about something, if you genuinely feel a certain type of way, you have the power to make the change. You have the power to build a coalition of people, of like-minded individuals, and just allow them to make you stronger of a person, and work together as a team. I know that you're gonna get a lot of no's in advocacy work, especially when you're going up to your mayor, your elected official, and saying, hey, I wanna lower the voting age to 16. But really just take those no's and go to the next person that could help you. That grit, I think, really truly makes the change that you desire. And I think that's just the biggest advice that I could give you as somebody who is young and who gets underestimated in rooms sometimes, is the fact that you need to have that confidence in yourself to be able to do this type of work.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, Anjali, it's not gonna change too much as a woman of color, though. Yeah, no, I'm really excited. I honestly couldn't imagine this campaign to be at this place right now. It was just 4 of us in the beginning, and now it's hundreds of us. And, you know, I'm so grateful to have the team at the Institute working on this campaign, in particular, my very good friend, Asana Man, without whom I could not be doing this work with today and every day, honestly. So yeah, I can't wait to see all of you in the future and how I can help you guys move this forward in your respective towns.
So I just want to say thank you to both of you for being up here, but just also being that like voice, but also that vision for the future. I feel like you both are doing such amazing work, and you're only 19 years old. You're only 2 years younger than me, and I just want to say I'm proud of you as a girl to a girl, because like you're really doing such amazing things. It's okay. And you as well, like you both have been like an inspiration to me just sitting up here, just listening to you guys. And I know y'all are gonna do great things in the near future. And I'm here rooting for y'all every step of the way. So just congrats.
Same. You're amazing.
All right, let's give it up one more time for these amazing panelists, these young women powering our democracy. I want to give some love to, Sasha, Anjali, and McGowdy. Thank you. Somebody take a picture. Great job. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that amazing panel. I am excited to be back up here to introduce our next guest speaker who's going to be delivering special remarks. As Governor Murphy mentioned earlier, in a recently published New Yorker article, Mayor Ras Baraka is described as a reasonable radical. Well, we look at our Vote 16 campaign that way too. Democracy is radical and powerful. And we need to experiment and be in constant vigilance. Including our young people in our democracy is eminently reasonable. Why silence the voices of those most directly impacted by school board decisions? So it's no surprise that Mayor Baraka is a champion of this movement to lower the voting age, and that his city, Newark, the brick city, was the first in New Jersey to take this powerful step. So please give me a big round of applause and help me welcome to the stage Mayor Ras J. Baraka.
All right, she don't want to sit down. All right. And neither do he, obviously. But I wanted to say thank you to Jersey Institute for Social Justice, to all of you young people that are here today, and everybody that helped organize this. My congresswoman is not here today, who was the council president then, LaMonica MacGyver, who helped shepherd this through the municipal council to make this a reality here in the city of Newark. I appreciate it, and I want you to know how important it really, really is. And I don't know if people understand that. And there's considerable pushback, by the way. You would think it wouldn't be, but there is. And I'm happy to see that Governor Murphy was here supporting this concept, this idea about what happens. Around the country, people are stealing people's right to vote. They're actually dropping people from the rolls in places like Mississippi, like Georgia, like Alabama. They're dropping tens and thousands of people from the voting rolls, people who registered to vote lawfully, who are able to vote and should be voting and should be engaged. They're dropping people from the voting rolls. But in New Jersey, we're adding more people, right? And that's incredible. It is a dichotomy that, you know, it shouldn't be as stark as it is, but it is. You watch what's happening around the country and what's happening in New Jersey. There's some incredibly different things happening, not just because of legislators and elected officials that are in office, but because of people like you who are pushing the envelope on the ground, forcing us and making us to do these things. I was at an event last week, and an older woman got up and said, you know, young people don't take the vote seriously. She said when she was younger, her mother dressed them all up in their Sunday best, and she took them to go vote. When she voted, they went in the polls with her, and she voted just so they could see how important this was. And she said, since that time, I always think of voting as something like incredibly important, because I remember in my mind, my mama dressing us up and taking us to the polls to getting us to vote. And that was probably because then at that time that she was talking about the proximity to you not being able to vote by law, and the fight that it took to be able to get to vote was very, very, very close, right? So to folks then, it was so paramount, so important, so significant that they get out and vote, because they were voting for things or making sure that not only did they wanted to show self-determination, but they were voting to prevent harm from themselves. They were voting so lynching could be illegal. They were voting so voting rights could be given to everyone, so the economy could visit everybody's household, so Jim Crow could be destroyed, right? They were voting because people were preventing them from voting because people were getting shot on City Hall steps in order to try to vote. Dogs were being sicked on people at the Edmund Pettus Bridge because people were trying to vote. So to those folks then, it was a lot more critical in their mind to get out and vote. 16, 17, 18-year-olds would climb the fence of high schools to get out of the high school while they're supposed to be in schools just to march downtown in order so people can have the right to vote today. So that many people who are voting today because of 16, 17, and 18-year-olds climbed fences of schools to protest so they could actually vote, who are now in the way of allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote. So that in and of itself is very serious. But what's more important is the things that are important to you, that we make decisions about every day, the books you read, the curriculum that's in your classroom, whether books should be banned or not, right? The cultural relevance that's accessible in the curriculum, right? The type of teachers that are put before you, the principals that school boards hire, the contracts that go outside of your community to other people that don't empower, employ, direct funding resources to people in your neighborhood, create jobs and opportunity. All of those things affect you. School lunch, which everybody talks about all the time, right? School lunch, all of these things that you talk about all day in class or in the hallway that most of us don't pay attention to or really take serious enough, it's important for you to get your voice heard in that. But more importantly, I hope this is a dress rehearsal before I sit down. I hope this is a dress rehearsal. I hope this is an opportunity for you to get the practice of voting, that it becomes infectious and habitual, that you begin to keep doing it over and over and over again, like that kid, the mother who told me that her kids were dressed, that she was dressed up as a kid. Hopefully this is your dress up. This is your dress rehearsal to continue to vote always and encourage other people to vote. I mean, so voting by itself is not enough, but it's the easiest thing you can do to involve yourself in democracy. It is the easiest thing you can do to make sure your voice, your concerns are heard. It's the easiest thing to do. Get up in the morning, go down there, pull that lever, push the button, write it on. You can even sit in your house these days and mail it in. So that's the easiest thing you can do to participate in democracy. It's not the only thing you can do, but it's certainly the easiest thing you can do. I want to say congratulations to all of you in the state of New Jersey who are going to pull that lever, particularly in April here in the city of Newark during the school board race. I look forward to seeing the plurality that you guys create because you came out to vote. Probably be more of you voting than some of the residents of the neighborhood. So you have a real opportunity to be a swing vote here in the city of Newark. So I would say get together, organize yourself, pick a candidate, and make sure that candidate win, then celebrate like heaven to make sure everybody knows that they won because you voted. God bless you.
All right, let's get another round of applause for Mayor Roz Baraka. All right, folks, so we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. please stretch, go to the restroom if you need to, get something to drink. We still have lots of food. We're gonna be back here to start up again at about 11:32, 11:30. Yeah, no, lunch is not ready yet, guys. Sorry. But there's still some breakfast available from this morning. So if you want that, coffee, some water, please grab that. Lunch is not ready yet. Yeah, thank you for the clarification. Oh, you know what? Ooh, okay. Do you know where you might have left it? Find an iPad. Okay. All right, folks, we're gonna get started with our next panel. I'm gonna ask everyone to take a seat so that we can get started. Also, someone misplaced an iPad. I think it has a black case, so if anybody saw that, it was on this side of the room, please let me know. We're in search of it. Okay, so we're gonna move into our next panel, our second panel of the day, which is titled In Conversation with Leaders, the Inside Scoop from Public Officials. So I'm so excited to introduce Christina Middlebrooks, who is gonna moderate and guide us through this amazing conversation today. So let's give Christina a warm round of applause as she makes her way to the stage. Christina is a sophomore at Princeton University, where she's studying in the School of Public and International Affairs on a pre-medical track. Currently, her positions within the NAACP include secretary for the NAACP New Jersey State Conference Youth and College Division. And she's a student leader for the reactivation of the NAACP Princeton University chapter. Christina was present when the historic vote to lower the voting age in Newark happened, and she participated in the press conference. So warm round of applause for Christina, and we're gonna hand the mic over to her.
Thank you so much. And now I have the honor to introduce all of our panelists for this next session. First up, we have New Jersey Senator Raj Mukherjee, representing the 32nd district comprising of Hudson County. And before becoming senator, he was an assemblyman for 5 years, starting at the age of 28. And he is a prime Senate sponsor for the Vote 16 New Jersey bill. Please introduce me in giving him a warm welcome. Thank you. Next up, we have Assemblywoman Cleopatra Tucker, representing the 28th legislative district, including South Orange, Maplewood, Newark's West and South wards, and Hillside. She has been an assemblywoman for 16 years. She knows the importance of the youth vote, and she is a prime sponsor from the Assembly for the Vote 16 New Jersey bill. Please help me in giving her a warm welcome. Next up, we have Councilman Patrick Council. He has been a council member for the city of Newark, representing the South Ward since July of 2022. Not only was he a sponsor for the ordinance in Newark that lowered the voting age to 16 for school board elections, he was a part of the unanimous vote that made this ordinance law. And last but not least, we have City Clerk Keisha Daniels. Clerk Daniels is an attorney and the city clerk for Newark, New Jersey. She is also the first woman to serve as a municipal clerk for the largest city in the state of New Jersey. One more time, let's give a warm welcome to all of our panelists. Ooh, so I'm so excited that I get to be a part of this amazing panel. And let's just get into it. So my first question is for Senator Raj Mukherjee and Assemblywoman Tucker. What has been the biggest challenges and opportunities in gaining support for the statewide bill to lower the voting age, and how are you navigating opposition to this effort?
You want to go first? Let me go first. Okay. I think it's not so much about overcoming opposition as it is creating an appetite to prioritize and shepherd this bill into law. Because there's thousands and thousands of bills pending in the state legislature at a given time, a small percentage of which actually ever get a committee hearing, an even smaller percentage of which actually get posted for a vote on the floor by the General Assembly or the Senate. It's a matter of making sure that, as we walk and chew gum, that this doesn't fall victim to not being one of the bills that gets all the way through. So it means that we have to get our colleagues as excited as Assemblywoman Tucker and I are about the bill and communicating the importance, the fact that chronically low turnout, like 3 to 7% in school board elections like we saw in New Jersey in 2023, is belied by the fact that the youth turnout in the 2020 presidential election of young voters of age was 67% in New Jersey. It was the highest in the country. New Jersey led the nation in terms of 18 to, it might have been 24-year-old voters participating. So there is the potential to help with chronically low turnout in school board elections, to make sure that young voters have a say when school board elections used to have, school board meetings used to have thoughtful debate. They've given way to bonkers debates about CRT and culture wars and mask mandates and rolling back protections for certain groups of students and all this kind of other stuff. That this is the time, if ever we needed, to uplift the high school juniors and seniors most directly impacted by the decisions by these school boards. This is the time to let them do it. So that would be, I think, that's what we have to communicate to our colleagues. And I think that we're getting there. We're getting more and more people interested in it. Madam Chair?
Well, I was like interested in this particular situation because I think that having our young people a part of the school board elections would help increase the interest in the school, have them work with the students with what they like or what they want to discuss, and not just be an adult thing that we have to tell you what you have to do. I think you have a right and a say-so in everything that happens in your schools and participate in everything and not be left out to just do what some elected adults and teachers and other adults have to say for you to do. I think it's your right, and you have that you can be able to make decisions as well as the adults, because you know what you want better than we do. Because being a young voter is very important. And since Newark was first, and as always, Newark is always first in doing everything, I just wanted to make sure that I brought this to the state level to make sure that we could get this done throughout the state of New Jersey, so we can say New Jersey is the state where we allow young 16s and 17 years to vote in the school board election and have an opportunity to voice their opinion and participate in the process.
Thank you so much. Next up, I would like to ask Councilman Pat Council, now that the ordinance has passed in Newark, what steps do you see as crucial in ensuring its smooth implementation and encouraging youth to turn out?
First of all, I want to thank everyone for inviting us to this summit today to really deal with some of these vital issues. Twofold. One, I think working not just with our city clerk, but the county clerk to ensure that all measures are in place as the rollout and implementation to get all of our folks who are 16 and 17 years old engaged in the process of voting is vital. And so we want to continue to work along with our clerk's office as well as the county clerk to make sure that those systems are in place so it does not cause frustration or oppression, right, for our 16 and 17-year-olds who are looking for a place to register, and making that process as simple as possible, be it via paper or through technology. So I think that is critical right now for that to happen. And then I think secondly is to begin to continue as you are doing now in this kind of space to force engagement from the school district to ensure that they are having this kind of engagement with all of their student government participants. They're having roundtables and talking about how they're going to begin to make this explosion possible in terms of Newark voting, right? Newark Youth Vote in 2024, which is important in April, that you can begin to change the landscape of what happens in your district, come up with a formative plan of action through organization, and ensuring that your voice is heard through each and every person that says they want to serve you on the Newark Board of Education.
Yes, I agree. I think we heard from the governor earlier that we want to pass 2.3%, which was the last turnout for the school board elections. So we have a goal that we're going to strive for and definitely get that vote turnout. Next up, I wanted to ask City Clerk Keisha Daniels, how will your office manage the implementation of voter registration for 16 and 17-year-olds? And what do you foresee as the biggest challenges in this process?
That's a huge question. And so there's so much logistics behind making this happen that I really want to thank everyone that pushed the initiative, because government tends to work really, really slowly. So I am just as surprised as everyone to find out that we're going to be able to do this coming April, because that is lightning speed, and you all should be very excited about that. So when it comes to challenges, the biggest challenge is just communicating, just making sure that students are aware that they have this right to participate in this process. You spend so much time in school that you would think that this would be a no-brainer, that you would be able to participate in the leadership on the school board level. But every speaker that has mentioned before, some of the naysayers that came before the council that said that you're not entitled or you're not ready, or people are just intimidated by the mere thought of young people getting involved, it was really disheartening. So I'm super excited this morning to see everyone here and the amazing challenge ahead of us, that I feel energized that we're going to be able to do it because it's necessary, it's time, and you all should be excited about the history that you're making.
Thank you so much. Yes, I feel inspired. But I think one thing I took away was communication is key, even on the government level. So just making sure that we have that open communication to make sure everything runs smoothly. My next question is for Senator Raj Mukherjee and Assemblywoman Tucker. Looking ahead, what strategies are in place to build momentum for this bill? And what timeline do you envision for moving through the legislative process?
Okay. Well, the timeline is that we have to go through committee hearings in both houses. So we've already asked the chair of the different committees to put this bill up for a committee hearing. Once we have the committee hearing and it passes through both of the Assembly and the Senate, we are going to ask the governor to, we're going to ask the speaker rather, to put it up for a House vote for the entire Assembly, and in the Senate it'll be the same thing. Once that is done, we're going to send it over to the governor's desk, and he is already saying that he's interested and he's going to be able to sign the bill. Our job is to convince, my job is to convince the people in the Assembly to sign on to the bill, support the bill, and vote for the bill. And so we have separate, he has the same job in the Senate, and we know by communications, talking and having the committee hearings, and just talking in caucus, the need for this. And we just wanted to say that who knows better some of the needs that the students need other than the student. So we're gonna ask you to come down to our committee hearing so you can voice your opinion in front of the committee that's going to be hearing the bill. So when my bill comes up in the committee, I want you to come down to Trenton, all of you, so they can see how important it is and what we need to do. If you stay away, they're going to think it's not important. Oh, this is just something they're going to do in Newark. Well, we want to let them know that just because we are first, we want to take everybody with us. We don't want to, no young person between the ages of 16 and 17 should be left behind in voting for what they want and need in the school board election. So that's my feeling, and I'm going to work very hard in the assembly to make sure this bill gets passed out of the assembly and goes to the floor in the assembly for a vote.
So on strategy, overcoming the hesitation that some of our colleagues in the Senate and the Assembly have about this bill can be accomplished by pointing to the data and by the counter arguments. Because when you ask, what's your hesitation? What's your hesitation about enfranchising 16 and 17-year-olds? What's your fear? They're too young, they're not going to be informed enough, mature enough to make these decisions? Let's see. We can point to the fact that multiple Latin American countries, multiple European countries, Germany, Norway, Estonia, Austria, Scotland, have been doing this. We have data that we can point to. Scottish youth that participated in their pilot program to enfranchise 16 and 17-year-old voters, they, for years later, were more engaged in their democracy than any other age group, and that was across socioeconomic classes. In Tacoma Park, Maryland, when 16 and 17-year-olds were first enfranchised in the local election there, here in the United States, they voted at 4.5 times the rate of older voters. Even in subsequent elections in Tacoma Park, the rate of 16 and 17-year-olds participating was double their turnout rate of older voters. So we can point to the empirics, we can point to the data, no harm has resulted. On the other hand, we're improving turnout, we're instilling a lifelong habit in people, which means it will last with them as they get older. And one thing that people didn't expect happened after the Vietnam War, when 21 was the voting age throughout the United States. And we realized, you know what, we're sending people off to war to defend our country in uniform and bear arms in defense of our country at 18, at 17. I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 17 because I was emancipated minors right after 9/11. And yet, they're not old enough to vote, to participate in their democracy in this most fundamental way. So there was the constitutional amendment that lowered the 26th Amendment that lowered the age to 18 after Congress couldn't do it by statute. There was a Supreme Court case that said they could only do it in federal elections and not at state and local elections. The voting turnout rate dropped. We saw a decline. Because when you're leaving the nest and you're independent for the first time in your lives as an adult, you know, and you're in your dorm, and maybe there are more dishes in the sink and, you know, laundry undone. I mean, not every 18, 19, 20-year-old is going to be like our moderator, is going to be like the people in this room, and they don't have that level of trust or faith in their politicians, in their public servants, in their democracy. So turnout has seen a decline. And when they do vote, it's in presidential elections. It's not in state and local elections, school board elections. And so when we point that out and say, you can reverse that decline when you enfranchise 16 and 17-year-olds while they're still at home and in that environment before they've left the nest, that habit will last. And we're not speculating here. We have the data from other jurisdictions to show it. So the strategy is about taking our colleagues one by one and saying, what else you got? Well, it's a slippery slope. We let them vote in school board elections. Next thing you know, you're going to be wanting them to vote in other elections. Yeah, hell yeah, that's the point. 16, 17-year-olds should be enfranchised, should be able to vote in every election or democracy. So let me not sneak that up on you. I want to show you that the sky will not fall when we do it, the way Newark is leading the way, leading the charge. And I salute Mayor Barak, I see you in the audience, Your Honor. That is the point. We want to show you the sky will not fall when we allow this for school board elections where it matters the most, because we're going to give these high school juniors, seniors a chance to defend democracy, to defend facts, you know, to fight back against book bans and rolling back protections for transgender students where they're most directly impacted. And then when you see that only positive impacts will result, then we can talk about enfranchising them in other types of elections, because that's my goal. Let me not, you know, skirt around that.
Thank you so much. I mean, I feel like invigorated, excited. I heard a call to action that when we have committee hearings, we need to show up and show out as youth. So everyone in this building and in this room, when those committee hearings come out, we need to show up and show out for her. So we need to be in that room. And then I also heard that this is not the end. So don't see Vote 16 New Jersey and just local school board elections as the only thing that we can do, but that this is just the start and this is just the beginning. So that's really exciting to see what the future might be like. And then I have a closing question for all the panelists here. Are there any final thoughts you want to share with the attendees?
Yeah, I would just like to say, first and foremost, don't start something if you don't want to be engaged in it, right? And so you have to understand movements and lives were given up for the right for people to vote. Bloody Sunday was not fake, it was real. Medgar Evers being gunned down in the driveway of his home in front of his wife and children was not fake, it was real. The death of Dr. King was not fake, it was real. The killing of Schwerner, Goodman, and Swartz was real in Mississippi for the right to have people vote. And so this push that you're doing is going to come with some agitation. And because times have changed, it does not mean that methods won't change to try to suppress or push or move you down. But what it should do is encourage you to organize even more, to come up with a plan of action and begin to control the narrative in that plan. And to me, it starts right here in April, right? Where you get an opportunity to make your voice heard, to be able to stand up strong, to hear issues, to push issues, and to come up with a plan, an agenda to be able to say, these are the things that we're looking for our school districts to do very intently and specifically to individuals who are looking for re-election or to be elected to the Board of Educations, wherever you may be, and then to organize people, your constituents, to get out and vote and not be afraid to do it in a way that it speaks loudly and boldly. It doesn't matter if it's through agitation, doesn't matter if it's through rallies and movement, but you have to be willing and forceful to do those things. So this is just not about coming together, making sure that you have a nice wrap and a bag of chips, but it is about really organizing and being really laser beam focused on the intention and intent of what it is that you have to do, and not just showing up, but showing up with purpose, right? Because a lot of times we can be present and absent at the same time.
I ditto every comment you made, Councilman Council. What I'd like to say to everyone in the audience is stay engaged. Spread the word. Recognize your power. You have brought to the table every legislator from the federal government, state government, county government, municipal government. We're here. We're listening. We're engaged. So you stay engaged. Thank you.
I'd just like to say it's an honor to be able to say I'm going to work hard so a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old can have the right to vote in a school board election and go further. My story is a little different because I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, and I had to struggle for the right to vote. I had to go take a test in order to have the right to vote. All we asking for is a vote from the Assembly, the Senate, and make this a law and have our governor sign that the 16 years old have a right to vote in school board elections. And further on, we may be able to move it further to a general election. But it's just exciting to know that I had a chance to say that I'm working on a bill that says a 16 and a 17-year-old have a right to vote. When I was growing up in Birmingham, Alabama, I had to wait till I was 18. I had to take a test to get the right to just cast the vote. And the funniest thing is when I came to Newark, first thing I wanted to do was become a registered voter. I went down to the Hall of Records and I went in and I asked, where do I take the test to become a voter? And they looked at me and they said, a test? I said, yes, you have to take the test. And they said, no, sweetheart, all you have to do is fill out this paper. I stood there and cried. So it's my pleasure, and I'm going to do everything I can do to make sure that you all get the right to vote in the school board elections, and we have to take it further. We're going to take it all the way.
Assemblywoman, roughly what year was that when you had to? No. I'll tell you why I'm asking. I mean, seriously. Do you remember how long ago it was that you had to take the test to vote in Alabama? Maybe 62, 63 years ago. You hear that story, and you realize that in 2024, there are states in this union where they are continuing to put up obstacles 62, 63 years later for people of color, for American nationals to be able to vote, cast a ballot, go to the polls, participate in their own democracy. Instead of making it easier to enfranchise people, they are passing laws in state legislatures that will make it harder for people to access the voting franchise in 2024. So my parting words would be this. The call to action, allies are important. It's important for adults who already have the voting franchise. It's important for parents. It's important for all of us to help secure this franchise as it's been important in the past when we've expanded the voting franchise. Allies are important. Women could not have secured the right to vote if men didn't join them in the struggle. But at the end of the day, nothing will be more impactful to a policymaker, to a lawmaker, than advocacy from the folks who are presently disenfranchised. If we're going to enfranchise somebody and give them the right to vote, we need to hear, my colleagues, Cleopatra's colleagues need to hear from 16 and 17-year-olds. Because there's no better way to overcome the notion that these younger potential voters are not only mature enough, they will be better informed in participating in their civic duties than even older voters. I've seen that when we've talked to 16 and 17-year-old advocates for the bill. Raise your hand if you are 16 or 17 years old. You all need to make sure that this movement is spreading to other high schools throughout the state. Use the power of Instagram and TikTok. I've been on Instagram. I just opened a TikTok, and this bill was what I had in mind. I don't care if Xi Jinping goes into my phone. He's going to see a bunch of like thousands of selfies that my 5-year-old and my 2-year-old take of themselves when they steal my phone. So the idea, and follow me, it's RAJMUKHERJI. The spelling is in the thing since I just joined. But the point is, you need the movement to spread to these other high schools so those 16 and 17-year-olds can do what you're doing in your home districts and talking to their state legislators. Because guess what? Even if they can't yet vote, their parents are already of voting age. And our colleagues in the state legislatures, we will take a meeting with somebody who lives in our district before a lobbyist, before a donor, before a professional advocate, because you all are constituents, are voters, or the children of voters, and hopefully future voters. So make sure that your classmates, your peers, are advocating before their home district legislators so that when she and I go and talk to our colleagues, it's not the first they're hearing about it. They will have heard about it from people in their hometowns, in their districts, who care, whose rights are directly affected by being denied the voting franchise until this bill becomes law, and it will become law. Thank you for your advocacy.
Thank you so much. And now we have a little bit of time for some Q&A. So I just want you guys to, if you can, just shout out some important issues or something that you would like us to talk about from any of the panelists here. Anybody? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
This is a great panel of folks from different levels of government, so thank you for being here. My name is Isaac Jimenez. I'm a member of the Votos para Todos campaign, which is a hybrid of both youth and non-citizen voting. There is low turnout, and especially like the cities, like New Brunswick, Elizabeth, Newark, Jersey City. What are some of the things with the youth vote that you would want to use it for to pass legislation or policy that you think you need youth behind? Like, what is something that you need the youth vote for? Because if we can raise the turnout, that's great, but then what do you need it for? What are some of like the policy things that we want to get done? And just as an example, in the city of Newark, you know, we tried to pass a resolution for a ceasefire, and we figured if we had more youth or more non-citizens voting, we'd probably have gotten that. But what is something that you think with this youth voting you could achieve in your respective parts of the state?
Yeah, first and foremost, all politics are local, right? Before you start anywhere, you start from this local branch, and everyone has to recognize that when you have an opportunity to be given something, then every matter counts, right? It's just no specific thing that you can pinpoint, because every single day, people are making decisions about other people's lives, right? Unemotionally, right? And it becomes critical to get engaged in every aspect of it, right? So let's just take in consideration that at this moment, you control $1 billion school board. At this moment, the city municipal budget is close to $1 billion. At this moment, the county budget is close to $1 billion. And so every creative, imaginative thing that you can think about that your voice needs to be heard in is right in front of you, that is attached to resources and opportunities that you need. And if you know that somebody has something that you need, you have a responsibility to go and get it. And if you don't, and if you sit on the sideline while other people go and get it, then you can't feel like you've been engaged enough in that argument to really look at what it is that's going to help you get across the finish line. And so it doesn't matter if it's from the state level or the municipal level. Young people are needed in this engagement. Young people are needed in this process because it helps to shake the roof. It helps to shake the very fabric of what needs to happen, right? We have to continue to agitate. We have to continue to study. We have to continue to be engaged and involved in all of the aspects of what is happening because one, If somebody believes that your voice is not good enough, if your voice is good enough to have a summer job and to work, then your voice should be good enough to be able to vote. If your voice is good enough to be able to come out and to rally and hang up posters and do other things for other people, then your voice is good enough to be able to vote. And understanding the necessities of everything that you need is planted in your right to vote. And that's why we have to get out and we have to be engaged in vote.
Hi there, thank you. Hudson Stelmack from Livingston High School. So I have a question about how implementation would work in towns where school board elections are not separate from general elections. That's been a major concern for our town council. It's been their most major concern. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on how it can be achieved.
Sounds like a city clerk question. So our elections are a little different than your town. And when you talk about implementation, just taking, for example, the work that's ahead in Newark, we have to work with our county partners and state partners to create ballots so that people are informed that they can register to vote. We have to program machinery. That's not my job, but at the state level, machines have to be programmed, ballots have to be sent out, people have to be notified. So those are some of the logistics. When it comes to any other town, it's the same type of work that's involved, but just some of the nuances that you talk about are things that have to be worked out at the government level. So your legislators will have to work through that, just like we're working through having to implement this law. Like, it was passed in January, and it's not even going to see, real movement until over a year later. We talk about 2025. So that's what I mean by government working slowly. But those are some of the issues that all towns, struggle with.
And to help you out a little bit, right? Because I'm getting what you're saying, right? So if our school board election is caught up in a general election, right? How do I make my voice heard? And so there were some school board elections that are independent. Some are not in November with general elections, and then there are some that are held in April. So I'm not. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So part of what the clerk talked about is definitely correct. The other part is it gives you an advantage as young people who are organizing to get your voice heard in a general election, because now it creates an atmosphere that makes people respond to you in a greater way, because they recognize now that they can link you in with some other things that are happening in the general election, right? So I'll give you an example. We have a general election that's coming up November the 5th, right? Presidential election, very important election. We want to encourage and get everybody to get out and vote. But now at the same time, possibly in your municipality, there's an opportunity for 16 and 17-year-olds to be engaged in that school board election. So it would be the benefit of individual parties to meet ahead of organized young people that are engaged and processed and ready to go out and ensure that their voice is heard in a school board election, but that those same constituencies will want to make sure that those organized young people are trying to address some of the issues that they may have on the Republican side or on the Democratic side. And now, as an organized group of people, how do you organize around the leverage of that? So you have to understand, as young voters and 16 and 17 years old, you're creating a space of leverage that's going to help you carry across many bridges back and forth. And you have to organize around that and get the people to realize it and pull it out at the same time. And you'll see that you have more people coming to you in November elections than even you may have in separate school board elections that may be held in April.
The last one back here, Christine.
Hello, my name is Nason Carr, inaugural president of the Rider University at WSP. and second vice president of the New Jersey State Conference Youth and College Division. So my question is, how can college students on college campuses better support young people's rights in this movement?
So one way in which college students can be allies to 16, 17-year-olds in this movement for this franchise is email and call 2 sets of legislative offices. That means 1 senator and 2 assembly people times 2, where their college is based and their home zip code. Your constituent of both. Use the different address when you write to each set. But they can write and call their legislators, state senate and assembly people, and say, will you please ask the Senate president in the case of the senators, the Speaker of the Assembly in the case of the assembly members, to post the bill and include the bill numbers and ask for these legislators to get on board, to sign on as a co-sponsor and ask for the bill to be posted. If they hear this from just 5, 6, 7 people, we're gonna get a hearing in committee. And then after that, when the data and the facts present themselves and so many of you and your colleagues, high school and college students come and testify, then it'll move on to a floor vote. So that would be, I think, the way in which college students can be most helpful is by directly calling and emailing their legislators in 2 districts, home and on campus, and asking them to ask leadership to post the bill. And to go back to our first question, actually, about what kind of things will we be able to achieve if we have more youth participating and if we have more enfranchised, what will that enable us to do? What is the end game? Everything ranging, at least speaking for myself, from 100% clean electricity standard and climate legislation helping us fight climate to at least a true public option for healthcare in New Jersey if we can't do Medicare for all, which requires the federal counterparts to act, to making sure we go further than just protecting reproductive autonomy. We need to make sure that we're not discriminating based on socioeconomic class or ability to pay. Protecting a woman's rights and birthing people's rights over their own bodies only goes so far if they're able to access that care. All of these are types of things that we ought to be able to move when Democrats control both houses of the legislature and the governor's office. And yet we can't. There are a number of progressive bills that in order to move them, we need to have more of a push from it. And that will come, I think, if we see more young people enfranchised and participating. It will help move the party from within and the types of things that we're fighting for and the types of things that we're prioritizing. And that was just a few. I could give you a long list of things that I think could move if we had sufficient numbers of constituents championing that.
So one of the things that I think we should do, and that's like right away, we can get a group of you young people to come to Trenton during a voting session and have your demonstration outside and a rally outside of the State House to let them know that you're serious. We're not playing games. We're serious. We want the 16 and 17-year-olds to have the right to vote in the school board elections. Once we get that done, then we can work all along the way to others. We have to take it one step at a time. But I'm encouraging you to start. We're in session now. You can look at the schedule to see when is the voting session, the next voting session, and get a group plan to come down and that day to participate. And when they see you outside, they're going to be amazed that, oh, really, these young people are really out here demonstrating. If everybody else can come down there and demonstrate on what they want to demonstrate, you have that same right. Exercise it. Please come.
I wanted to say something real quick to the brother back there from the NAACP about your question about what young people should do that's on the campus. One is threefold. The first thing is you got to organize yourself on the campus, because sometimes we get on these college campuses and we get a little lost, and we begin to think that the campus just becomes our total surrounding, and we don't know that there are things that are around us that we have to embark in and engage in that is immediately in front of us. And so once you begin to organize that way, you should have a responsibility. It doesn't matter what campus you're on, if it's here at Rutgers, if it's NJIT, to be able to organize and find out the student government organizations that are in the city in which your campus is located, and to begin to organize them, meet with them, talk to them about issues, platforms, and challenges that they may be having on their levels and what it looks like from a collegiate level down to the high school level, and then how they can be able to organize around that, because the best people and voice to look at and to deal with is other young people, because it's hard for older people to come in the room and want to try to organize young people around innovative and thoughtful ideas that they have without getting caught in some of the stuff that they want to use, and then use some of the other organizations that are around. I know the Abbott leadership is around, and some other organizations that are around, but to really begin to push that up and push the narrative, not just about voter registration, but voter education, right? What does voting look like, right? What's the process around that? That should be the role for the folks on these campuses, teaching voter education and why it's important to be engaged and be involved. Because every single day, let me tell you, there are some people who are very emotional about stuff that's happening, but every single day when folks from the state legislator or the municipal legislator, when they sit down and have to vote on things, they can't vote emotionally. And their vote every single day is changing or moving the trajectory of somebody's life, for better or for worse. I want you to hear that. Every single day, when there is a vote from the state legislator, from the assembly, from your local council people, your school board representatives, they can't deal in emotionalism. They don't have the opportunity to think about emotionalism, because they are focused on trying to make life-changing decisions. And it is either going to be for the betterment of your life, or it's going to do something that sidetracks you. That's why this election in November is pivotal. That's why everyone should be encouraged and motivated around this thing, because it carries those same two notions. That somebody is going to move to make the choices of your life better, or to set you back in a trajectory that will be harmful and demeaning. And that's why we engage. That's why we talk and move people to be able to get them to a point of understanding why it's important to be involved in voting.
Thank you so much. Sorry, technical difficulties. But I would like you to join me in giving a standing round of applause for all of our panelists. Thank you so much for coming out and really just sharing some of your insights with us. We're so happy that you guys represent us on all levels across New Jersey. Thank you. Thank you.
This one work? All right. All right, round of applause for Christina. She killed that. All right, thank you, thank you. All right, so I know y'all are tired of sitting in these seats. I know there's been a lot of talking, so great news, it's time for lunch. Yeah, clap it up from them spreads. All right, so we have a nice spread of sandwiches or wraps and salads. We're gonna be calling each table a few at a time, just so that, we don't have a huge crowd. So just wait a second to have your table called. But before we get into that, I do want to make a quick announcement. All of the elected officials up here raised up how important it is for you to actually be reaching out to your state legislators, your city council people, and all your elected officials. So I want to remind you that in your folders, you have a document labeled additional resources, and you have a QR code there. And if you scan this QR code, it'll bring you to a tool where you can email or tweet your legislator with just one click. So this is one of the simplest ways that you can get your voice on the record without losing much time at all. So I encourage you to take a second to do that now. And as the Assemblywoman said, it's really important for us to show up and hold demonstrations and mobilize in large numbers. So I just want to let you all know that on October 28th, I think it's October 28th, the Institute and some of our partners are going to be hosting what we're calling a Spooky Democracy Fest at the State House. So this is going to be an opportunity for you to come down to Trenton, meet your legislators, talk to them, ask them to pass this bill and other bills that would help you be able to have your voice heard in democracy. So October 28th, come out, let us know if you have any questions about that. We'd love to see you. With that said, we're going to start lunch. So I'm going to ask any adult allies, first of all, if you're in the room, let our young people go first. And then also, if you had any dietary restrictions, if you requested a kosher or halal meal, please come see me. I think we have the halal meals already out, but we have to have the kosher meals prepared. So if you requested those, because we have a limited amount, please come see me. All right, so let's start lunch. We're going to start with first 3 tables here in the front. So I think that's reserve 3, reserve 4, reserve 5. There's 2 lines, so people can come up here or to the back of the room. What do we got in the back? Table 22, table 21, table 20. All right, everybody, just stand up back there. Start helping yourselves to lunch, please. Everybody just go. Forget about the tables. Just make an orderly line. All right, so and I also want to add that we're going to be raffling off some gift cards today. Yeah. So you did receive a couple raffle tickets, blue, yellow, green. And so at about 12:35 p.m., I'm going to come back up here and we're going to pull those tickets and we're going to hand out these gift cards. So please be in the room at 12:35 if you want to win a gift card, $50 gift card. All right, enjoy lunch. You guys like the expos, breakouts? Anybody have a favorite breakout group? No? Whoa. Shout it out. What was your favorite? Young, Black, and Elected. I heard that. What, a Dorian Murray Thomas, County Commissioner? Any other cool ones we had? Ignore that. Know Your Rights by Musa Ali. Yeah, that one looked really any cool orgs you checked out during the expo? All right, anybody not from the Vote 16 NJ table want to shout out the Vote 16? All right, just kidding, guys. All right, so we're gonna dive back into the rest of our agenda. Obviously, we're nearing towards the end of our day here, and we have one final panel lined up for you, and that's called Stories from the Vote 16 Movement. So you're gonna hear firsthand from leaders, youth leaders, who have been at the forefront of these movements locally in their communities and successfully campaigned for Vote 16 policy changes. They're gonna share their stories and provide insight into any challenges and successes they had, and also talk about what motivates them. So I'm so happy to introduce you to Leilani Taylor, who's gonna be moderating this great discussion. Let's welcome Leilani to the stage. Yes, Leilani is a 19-year-old powerhouse. She's a first-gen Rutgers-Newark sophomore majoring in criminal justice. She's actively involved in the newly chartered Rutgers Youth in College NAACP from Camden, Rutgers-Newark Criminal Justice Club, and the Rutgers University Women in Business Club. Oh, my bad. She wasn't busy enough. She's also doing Rutgers-Newark track and field team. Yeah. Leilani is aspiring to become a successful sports attorney. She's participated in numerous civic engagement activities in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Las Vegas. She represented Rutgers Camden as an alternate at the national convention. So let's give Leilani a warm round of applause, and stage is hers.
Hello. You guys can hear me? Okay. Hello. It's nice to meet you guys. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Asada, for that introduction, and thank you so much for having me here today. I am so excited to introduce our first panelist, Brianna Campbell. Everyone join me in giving Brianna a round of applause as she walks up here. Brianna is a proud Newark resident and a student at Science Park High School, also a GEM program fellow, Princeton WEB, Du Bois, and a Cooperman College scholar. But most importantly, she, along with our other panelist, Nathaniel, gave an impact testimony in Newark, New Jersey to lower the voting age to 16. Next up is Nathaniel. Let me just keep this back. I'm sorry, guys. Nathaniel Bonting. Nathaniel, like Brianna, is a student at Science Park High School and a Newark resident, a proud Newark resident. He is also a GEM Project Fellow and a participant in the Sony Music program. Like his counterpart, Brianna, he also is an advocate of Vote 16. In fact, he and Brianna were highlighted in a New York Times article. Please join me in giving a round of applause again to Nathaniel. Our last but not least panelist, Anya Kira, is a high school junior from Wesley, Massachusetts. She is a young advisory board member for Vote 16 USA with Generation Citizen A National Organization and a member of League of Women Voters. In addition to being a strong advocate to youth civic engagement, fun fact, guys, she is also a fencer and violinist. So, how's everybody doing before we start? Hi. Oh, okay.
Well. Hi everyone, I'm Brianna, and today I am feeling very excited.
Yeah, my name is Nathaniel. I'm a senior, and I'm also excited.
My name's Anya, and I'm also really excited. We're all excited.
That is great, everybody. So to start, for all the panelists, this is the first question. What inspires you guys to get involved in the Vote16 movement, and what has been the most rewarding part of your journey advocating for youth voting rights?
All right, so I would say my journey started when I was introduced to Vote16 movement by the GEM Project advocacy work. The more I got involved, I understood the importance of allowing 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds to vote. So I was able to testify at City Hall and use my voice to not only advocate for myself and my peers. So I would say the most rewarding part was being able to stand in front of decision makers. And I was supported by my peers, my community, specifically the Newark City Hall, where the ordinance was passed anonymously. And with that, just goes to show how when you use your voice, you're able to make a change. Thank you.
So for me, I think I've started becoming inspired to actually reach out and learn about the more things when first through the GEM project when we had a student board forum and I realized that we couldn't vote after. And it was just like, even though we participated, we the ones that gave the questions, we didn't have any way to vote. And it just really made me wonder. So when I was introduced by the GEM project and Vote16 that the ordinance can be passed and we can be a part of it, it just basically inspired me. And I'd say the most rewarding part is when you get to present and you say your ideas to other people that don't know. And when you actually gain that recognition and you see how much it becomes like almost a worldwide type of movement, you start to have that feeling that you actually have purpose.
For me, I'm really passionate about youth civic and political participation, and I believe that voting is a powerful way to do this. So I've seen how youth are intrinsically involved in our society and how we represent its future. So it only makes sense that our views and our votes are included in the political system, which makes it stronger and more effective. The most rewarding part has been the philosophical discussion that has been included has inspired in my town. So it really taught me the power of advocacy and also how to amplify my influence through political structures.
I love that. Okay, so for the next question, this is for Nate and Brianna. As fellows of the GEM project, what are some of the challenges you faced advocating for Vote16 policies, and how has your personal experience shaped your approach to this movement?
All right, so one of the biggest challenges through this movement was grown adults think 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds aren't able to make informed decisions, and that's wrong because me and Nate were able to use our voice to testify, which just debunks the whole entire stereotype about us. So they mentioned how 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds aren't mature enough to vote. So through our research and our conversations, we were able to prove them wrong by, once again, going to many events, testifying at City Hall, and just using our voice as a way to not only advocate for ourselves and for others.
I'd say the same thing for me. I believe that the disagreement and the type of sometimes like distrust coming from like lawmakers and adults who don't believe we can make it, I believe that was like the biggest issue because it just when you have people like against you, it just makes you feel this type of way. But then it also can type of empower you because he knows like what you're doing has like a great income that can really change how people think. And I believe that for me, for my personal approach, it was like in collaboration. So with Vote16 and GEM Project, we really read up on previous ordinances, how they were passed, and like we learned about more information so that when we came up there, we actually had like prior info. So I believe that when we worked with New Jersey Institute of Social Justice, it taught me how to present our case effectively to council members. And we, like when me and Brianna presented at City Hall, we knew what we were talking about. So then at the end, that ordinance was anonymously passed. So yeah.
Okay, I I definitely agree with both of you. Okay, this next question is for Anya. As a advocate, sorry guys, as a youth activist with Vote 16 in Massachusetts, how has your experience been advocating for this policy in your state? What challenges have you encountered and what strategies have worked well in building support?
Okay, so one of the nuances with Massachusetts is that um, unlike New Jersey, we need state approval for municipalities to grant voting rights. And so this has been an additional hurdle and for townships that have already gotten it approved. So it was a comment that was brought up when I presented the Vote 16 motion in Wellesley. And people questioned how feasible it is in state. So to address this, it encouraged me to kind of like continue working on this, but not just like push for Vote 16. I'd address exactly what they had said. So right now I'm working with Generation Citizen and some folks here actually to create this Massachusetts coalition. And I think broad support and advocacy will really help at the state level, but it will also encourage more conservative towns like Wellesley to take the plunge.
That was funny. Okay, for all the panelists, looking back at your Vote 16 advocacy, what advice would you give to young people who want to get involved in their communities and push for policy change, particularly lowering the voting age?
All right, so I would say start small but think big. Overall, the work, even though the work I may do may be overwhelming at times, I would say whether it's canvassing, organizing, speaking at forums or youth events, that just makes it much more manageable. You don't have to be an expert to be effective. If you're passionate about a topic and you want to speak about it, I would say just join organizations or start your own organization that talks about the topic you're passionate about. Just like how I joined the GEM project and I was able to advocate for what I believed in. So if I can do what you can do, I feel like your age shouldn't limit you to thinking, oh, you're not able to do this because you're young, but just having faith, and there's always going to be a support system to support you on the way. So just have faith and just go with the flow.
So for me personally, it also relates to Brianna, but I believe that you should not wait for someone to give you permission to do something. I think you should put your first step. You should always put that first step down because you never know who's gonna really push you or who's gonna really introduce you because things in life, it's sporadic in a way. You need to really understand where you're going or things will not happen. So I believe that in my head that you should really realize that young people have a role to play in democracy today, and you should push for issues that you care about because no one else will fight for them the way you will.
I definitely agree with what you guys have said. I also would suggest that people should also just reach out to government. You'd be pleasantly surprised to see how much politicians and legislators really just want to hear from young people. And yeah, I have definitely experienced that. So I've met a lot of influential people in my town, state, and nationwide through this movement. And so I think one thing that is important to emphasize that our youth is our asset, and demonstrating your interest in this will also allow for you to demonstrate your interest in voting and political matters. Yeah.
I definitely do agree with all of that. I feel as though at a young age, if you put your mind to it, we can definitely make a lot of change in this world. Especially, voting 16, we're making a lot of change right now. Okay, moving forward, for all the panelists, how can we shift the narrative that young people don't care about politics and don't vote?
So we need to highlight that when given the chance, you turn out vote at higher rates as seen in Tokamaka Park. We young people care about different social issues that includes climate change, social justice, and even voting in school board elections. But we just need the opportunity to be heard in meaningful ways, like school board elections, just like how I was passionate about equity education in all classrooms, because some schools tend to have more APs than other schools. So I was able to advocate for that. So that just goes to show how young people care about many issues. And when given the platform to talk about it, we would take the chance and take initiatives to make sure what we want is given to us.
So I personally believe that when we speak about young people not wanting to be involved, we need to understand the true context, because I believe something just like the school board election, that's something young people would love to be educated on and vote on, because that like physically always, and because we're always in school 8 hours a day, it always like affects us. So I believe that as students and we continue to go and grow in democracy, we need to realize that because we are in the school, we can vote, and in knowing that we can vote, it just gives like a sort of like empowerment in a way. Because when you realize that you're in an area where you can affect it through your decisions and your vote, it gives that empowerment that can lead on when you grow. So I believe that starting early is the best way.
I would say by actually voting, and this is why Vote 16 is so important. It's the training wheels at the local level to instill that habit of voting at all levels, and practice makes permanent. So at my school, I've led these campaigns to register folks to vote, and I've spoken about the importance of civic and political participation at school-wide open periods. I hosted a podcast called Voices for Vote 16. If you're interested, check it out. And that was just to share perspectives on youth voting from different stakeholders.
Okay, so this is the last question I have, and then we'll go to Q&A. Can you share a short story about a time in your advocacy when you felt most empowered?
One of my most empowering moments was recently at NJPAC, where I spoke to 400 guests, specifically women. And this was an empowering moment for me because not only was it just a room filled with women, but I felt like a boss lady because I was able to talk to women from different backgrounds and talk about my advocacy in the Vote 16 movement. So it made me realize that the work I've been doing so far, not only with Cincinnati City Hall being featured in New York Times and the news, has gone so far to me talking to about 400 guests. So that was something huge, and I didn't think that would ever happen. Yeah.
For me, I feel like the most empowering moment was back in January when I presented in front of the Newark City Council, and it was just really interesting to see the different sides. Like some people disagree fully, like they were hell bent on that students should not be able to vote, and you have people like fully like supporting you, backing you up, clapping, and it was just like such a like differentiating moment for me, because usually when I like present things, I think everybody support me, but seeing that people didn't just support you, it gave you like more of like power, because you realize what you're gonna do is really gonna have an impact in a way. So that's what I felt was the most empowering moment.
So like them, my empowering moment came from this movement, and it was when I presented with my partner to the town advisory board, and they give a position. They recommend a position for the town to take. So we started off the discussion with them being pretty negative and not really like understanding the purpose of this. And after presenting a pretty compelling case, I think our passion shone through, and it was they ended up really supporting it. So our town at the end did not support this movement, but a pretty tough group, the advisory committee, did, which was exciting.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to some Q&A.
I do have a question about this movement. So when you guys were, you know, doing this movement and, getting involved in this, how did you feel the whole time you were involved in this before, they changed the voting age and all that? How did you feel about it?
I would say the moment before I tested and testified at City Hall, I was very nervous because it would have been my first time speaking out about something I was passionate about. So city board members, and they have high power. So I would say I was very nervous at that point. But after the ordinance was passed, I felt some sort of a relief because I was able to advocate and use my voice for people, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds in Newark. So I would say it has been a roller coaster, but I'm very proud of myself of how far I've come because I was able to also step out of my comfort zone because isn't something I would really do on a regular basis, but I've been able to grow as a person, and that's something I am very proud of.
For me, I believe that it's very empowering and it shows that like I might like when I realized like there was a like type of like ordinance that could have been passed, it showed that there was like maybe there's a bigger purpose in my life. Maybe I was born for something like this. Like it showed me that there was something I can really do that can really affect people and can have a long lasting impact throughout like my whole life. And I believe that that just made me feel empowered because when you do something and you do it for others, it just makes it feel a lot more better. So that's why I really believe that this was a great ordinance and something I should have been a part of.
For me, I was really excited, and I'm always learning new people, like right here, and I get to see kind of like how everyone has this sort of passion for it, and it's it's been really, like you said, empowering just to see people, even if they don't support it, really care. Like just to have that brought into my town was amazing, and so I always felt empowered, and I still do.
Thanks, guys. I love that. I love that. Okay, does anybody have any questions for our panelists? Back there?
Do you have any advice for people on how to gather information and to advocate and to support whatever they believe in?
Answer. I would say just join in local organizations. Me and Nate, we joined the GEM project, and that's how we were able to learn about this advocacy work and the ordinance that was being passed. And if you're able to make your own, that's great. You could get people to join, and with that, you're able to set the framework. My fault. You're able to set the framework for you to be able to vote in your city.
Are you guys?
So yeah, I believe what Brianna believes. I think that you should reach out and do more research and Google and find out like more details. So if somebody asks you, you basically have a good basis and you can defend your point.
Yeah, also reach out to Vote16 or Generation Citizen, and they're here. So maybe connect with them, or I know that there's a whole table of people from who Vote16 New Jersey. So there's so many people. This is like the perfect moment to kind of get started and ask them, get their contacts.
And then there's a question back there. She's raising her hand. Oh, right there. Okay.
Hi. What would you say to someone who's not sure about casting their vote in the upcoming general election?
Can you please repeat your question one more time?
What would you say to someone who's not sure about casting their vote in the upcoming general election?
Just say, stay informed about who you're voting for exactly. Like, do more research on what the two parties and see which one fits your best interest. You don't necessarily have to vote if you don't agree with any of them, but just making sure you're informed. And yeah,
I believe that if you're torn and you're undecided, I feel like you should think about the long lasting impacts because there are candidates, or we have in the primary election, candidates can have a really horrible effect on the country. So I believe that you should think about the long term and think about what can really happen if this president, look at their ideas, look what they align themselves with, because you don't want to vote for somebody that is literally opposing what you believe.
Also, just know your ability to be a voter, and know that you actually like, even if you're feeling a little like torn right now, it's important just to educate yourself. And there's so many resources out there, so much news. I stay up to date. I can't vote yet, but I'd say educate yourselves and just know that you are able to vote and you really can make a difference just by casting a ballot.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is David. Um, my First off, I want to say I'm honored to be in this space today. To see that it is you all up there who carried the baton across the finish line in the space in front of those who have done work prior to your generation, but to see that it's you that got it across and done is honorable in itself. And I want us to give y'all a hand because this is some really great work to be doing at such a young age. My question for you is, now that we've got this milestone done, right? There's so much more work still yet to be done. What is next for you all? What is something that you want to tackle next as an issue? And how do you plan to coalesce your peers to get on board with it, to build this movement, to make sure it's a movement and not a moment?
So yeah, I believe that in partnership with Gem Project and us being ambassadors, that we can really have a play in that because we got it passed that 16 to 17-year-olds can vote, but it's coming up in April 2025. Who's gonna really vote if they don't have information? So I know that I've been working with Gem Project. We're trying to start like candidate forums again, and we're trying to get information to younger people so that when they vote, they're gonna vote educated and vote informed. So when they put their vote in, they want to feel like, oh, it's just like a user's vote. And we're still I know that Newark is still working on the process for voting, and it's been, I think recently they said something about it that the registration is coming up. Yeah, so I believe that in due time that with Gem Project and other organizations that are trying to reach out to young people, or maybe candidates can come into schools that they can be informed and everyone can really vote and feel like they're empowered in a way, like feel like they did something.
Um, I think this is targeted to the New Jersey people. But I just want to add something. I think you're never really finished with this. I think you can always like Newark. This is amazing. Really, like this is incredible work, and I'm amazed. And I'm sitting here from Massachusetts, just wow. But I think once you get Newark, where's the next place you can hit? Kind of just having like that idea of like, okay, so who else can I help now? Or like where can you take it from here?
Hi, my name is Nevaeh. So this question doesn't really relate to what we're talking about, but also I wanted to correlate to the issues that we're having around schools. So I wanted to ask you, how can this program help us stop school shootings and ensure that our school is safe?
So since in April, you guys are going to be able to vote for school board electors, school board members, you could get research, or you could research about what they stand for and what their morals align with. So if you're passionate, I heard you're passionate about school shootings. So maybe a candidate might talk more about school shootings, and with that, you're able to vote for them this coming April.
Yeah, I think that because the elections are coming up, you know your candidates, and you're going to learn about candidates through information that's going to be passed around. You can vote for a candidate who's more on protection, like against students, more against maybe like they're just more on protection and wanting to keep students safe. And you can just make sure that you align yourself with somebody that is a part of that.
Also, maybe just you now have this ability to, like they said, to vote on school board, who represents the school board. So now you have this ability also just to talk to them, to tell them what you believe and see how they respond. That's all.
Okay, thank you guys so much for sharing. That was our last question, but do you guys have any final thoughts you want to give the audience here?
For me, I just say is just start now. If you have something in mind that you want to like really take from like New Jersey, take it to national, or even start from your school, start small. I just believe that you should always start what you want to do because you never know how big it's gonna get.
Just to add on to what Nate said, like I mentioned before, stepping out of your comfort zone. Like 2 years ago, I wouldn't think I'm gonna be here sitting here talking to all of you guys. So I was able to step out of my comfort zone, just have faith and just believe that, oh, I'm able to do this. So I would just say, once again, just having faith that you're able to do this. You're amazing. And yeah.
I would say never underestimate the power of your views and your voice. You guys are the future.
Okay, I do want to add on from what Brianna said. I didn't think I was going to be here either, and I would, just give you guys some comments. I would say that your voice always matters. You might be young now, and you might have adults saying, "Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that," but your voice matters. They're sitting up here, and they did something amazing. This Vote 16 thing is amazing, and I feel like anybody here, you can do whatever you put your mind to. That's it, guys. Thank you so much.
Give it up again for them. That was a great panel. Young, but experienced and so wise. This is what we're talking about when we talk about youth power, youth leadership. So thank you all so much. If you guys want, you can come over here to the Step and Repeat banner, take some pictures. And I'm actually going to invite up Amanda Ibekosia, the CEO, executive director of the GEM project, which Nate and Brianna are both fellows of, and they have a really cool giveaway that they're going to do. Amanda? Yeah, we got more giveaways, guys. Also, I want to share now while I have you that we are raffling off 2 more gift cards, $100 gift cards during dinner. So if you were planning on leaving, I wouldn't. You should have your tickets still. We gave you a blue and green and a yellow. So the yellow ticket is going to be the last one we pull. All right, Amanda.
Thank you. All right, everyone. For those of you who did come by our table in the expo, so you are eligible for this giveaway. How many of you, by show of raised hands, have ever heard of She's the First? Okay, one. All right. Well, She's the First is a national nonprofit organization. I actually know the founders, Christine and Tammy Tibbetts. They started their movement and their organization while as a college student. And it has thrived and it's truly global. And so they came out with a book called A Step-by-Step Plan to Create the World You Want to Live In. It's called Impact. And it basically tells you step by step how to launch anything and at scale. And they're truly, truly successful at doing that. So I want to first call out the 4 honorees, and we do have some runner-ups in case they're not present. Eliana, not here. Is that you? You came by our table, right? Okay. All right, give it up for Eliana. And also, if I mispronounce, please correct me. Lelia Diaz. Who's that? Woo? Is that you? Come on. Layla Diaz. Come on, come on. Yay, give it up for Layla Diaz. Thank you. All right, Nyla Johnson. Yay, Nyla, look at out here winning. All right, Paula Medina. Paula Medina. You get a book, you get a book. Everybody gets a book. All right, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Amanda and the GEM Project. Okay, y'all. So to close out our day, I'm really honored that we get to receive special remarks from Mr. LaJuan Allen. If you haven't seen him walking around today, you're in for a treat. LaJuan currently serves as the director of Vote16 USA, where he oversees all aspects of the national Vote16 campaign. So he's working across the whole country, y'all. LaJuan became the first in his family to graduate from college. He earned a bachelor's of arts in political science and public policy and sociology from the Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts in 2018. In May of 2022, he graduated from the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth with a master's degree in public policy and with a concentration in education policy. LaJuan began his career as the community relations coordinator for Mayor George O. Elorza in Providence, Rhode Island. And more recently, he served as the director of policy and partnerships. His portfolio included leading, implementing, and coordinating policy initiatives and high-quality, quick turnaround research and analysis in support of the mayor's policy agenda. So help me in welcoming LaJuan to the stage for our closing remarks, our closing special remarks.
Hey, I'm gonna keep this short. It's a pleasure to be sharing space with y'all. I know we're closing and people are low energy, but I am just very, 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 very grateful to be sharing space. And thank you to Asada, the entire staff at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice for welcoming this Bostonian to New Jersey. It is my first time here and I am very much enjoying it. Before I start with the actual remarks, I wanna sort of connect with the youth in the room real quick. So adults, work with me, all right? Youth, it's about y'all right now. Y'all remember the Drake-Kendrick beef, okay? Wait for it. We're gonna do a poll. All right? If y'all think that Drake won the beef, I want y'all to make some noise right now. Make some noise. All right, that was bad. If y'all think Kendrick won the beef, make some noise. Yeah. They definitely not like us. Definitely not. They not like the youth that are in this room. Again, it's a pleasure. I'm gonna try to keep this as brief as possible. It's a pleasure to be joining y'all. And thank y'all for being here to really talk about a cause that could significantly change democracy. It's a pleasure to be leading Vote16 USA. We're the national organization that supports all of the local and statewide campaigns that happen across the country. And we're standing at a major turning point for our democratic process. Democracy is under attack. And the questions before us are clear. Will we embrace the full potential of our democracy by allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote? Or will we continue to exclude the people whose lives are directly impacted by the decisions that are made today? Oh man, I feel like I'm giving a real speech. In this room are the leaders of this national movement. A movement where New Jersey, as we learned throughout the entire day today, a movement where New Jersey is leading the way. I'm going to talk very briefly about work that's happening outside of New Jersey, just very briefly. Across the country, we're seeing a groundwell of support for lowering the voting age to 16. We have Anya here from Massachusetts, my beautiful state. And this movement is driven by a simple yet very, very powerful idea. 16 and 17-year-olds deserve the right to vote in elections that directly impact their lives. Whether it's the quality of their education, whether it's the safety of your communities, or the future of our planet. Young people are leading the charge on the most pressing issues in our society today. Young people, now and historically, have always led on the most pressing issues of our society. In terms of lowering the voting age, we've seen local jurisdictions take the lead. Since 2013, 12 cities have lowered the voting age to 16 in the United States. They're not isolated experiments. They're proving that when you give young people the right to vote, when you trust them with the opportunity to forward solutions, they show up. We've had panelists talk today about Tacoma Park. Tacoma Park's in Maryland. It was the first city in the country to lower the voting age in 2013. They had an election in 2013. And 16 and 17-year-olds voted at a much higher rate than any other demographic in the city. In 2015, Hyattsville, Maryland, another city that allowed 16 and 17-year-olds to vote, had an election where 16 and 17-year-olds voted at a quarter rate higher than the overall turnout rate in the entire city. For the first time in California, the biggest state in our nation, 16 and 17-year-olds in Oakland and in Berkeley will be allowed to vote in their school board elections this coming November. That's a big win for the movement. In the northern city of California, in Albany, young people today are canvassing and petitioning their neighbors to grant them suffrage this November. There's a ballot measure in Albany this November where the residents there will be voting to allow or not allow, hopefully allow, 16-year-olds to vote in all municipal elections moving forward. These communities have demonstrated that when you enfranchise young people, you don't just strengthen youth participation, we strengthen democracy itself. The democracy that is in danger, very volatile in 2024. Just want to share some data. Studies like the one conducted by political science at Yale University show that young people who vote in their first election are far more likely to become lifelong voters. In fact, voting in one election can increase the probability that a person will vote in the next election by 25%. Engaging 16 and 17-year-olds while you all are still in high school, we can instill habits of civic engagement that last a lifetime. This is a matter of principle. Nowhere is the Vote 16 movement more alive than right here in the great Garden State, New Jersey, where young people and advocates have been leading the charge. As we all know, the city of Newark made history, becoming the first city in the state to lower the voting age for school board elections. Over 200,000 students in Newark public schools. Therefore, in my eyes, Newark is sending, Newark. I'm from Boston, hold on, Newark? Newark is sending a clear message. Young people have an appetite for change. They deserve a seat at the table. This victory didn't come easily. It was the result of years of advocacy led by youth organizers like those in this room, like Anjali, who is the co-founder of Vote16 New Jersey, who's been for years leading the fight to lower the voting age through coalition building, advocacy, expanding civic engagement. Or Brianna, who just spoke on the previous panel, who gave a remarkable testimony in front of the Newark City Council about the importance of this issue. Young people like Anjali and Brianna and Nate and Anya and others that are in this room and across the country understand that decisions about their schools should not be made without their input and certainly not without their vote. At the state level, again, we've heard today, New Jersey's poised to build our Newark success. We've heard from Senator Raj McKirji. We've heard from Assemblywoman Cleopatra Tucker. The bill at the state is an undaunted step forward. It does reflect that New Jersey is listening and that young people are ready, motivated, and eager to participate in our democratic process. Governor Murphy was here, strong supporter as well. And this is, I cannot tell you how important it is. Governor Murphy is the first sitting governor in the nation to come out in support of lowering the voting age. And I know that we've lost most of our elected officials, if not all, but I personally, representing Vote16 USA, am gonna urge the New Jersey legislature to send that bill to Governor Murphy's desk so he can sign it so that all 16-year-olds in this great state can vote in school board elections. I'm gonna mention one person, Greta Thunberg. She was 16. I'm sure you guys know her. She was 16 years old when she spoke before the United Nations. She spoke before the United Nations to hold adults accountable for failing to address the climate crisis. I'm actually gonna mention one more person, Little Miss Flint. I'm not sure if you guys know who Little Miss Flint is, but Little Miss Flint was just 17 years old now, but was very, very young when she started advocating during the Flint water crisis. And through her efforts has raised over $1 million to provide clean, drinkable water for folks in Flint. At 16, young people are working, driving, leading change in their communities through meaningful action, through activism, through social advocacy. For the organizers in this room, I say to you this: you are the heartbeat of the movement. I don't have a job without y'all, so yeah, y'all the heartbeat of my heartbeat. You are proving every day that young people aren't just the future of the country. You are the present. You are already making an impact, leading your communities. Keep raising your voices, keep organizing. Never underestimate the power that you have to change the world. To our partners like the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, who I describe as the strongest state partner that we have in the entire country. There's nobody doing what the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice does for Vote16 in this movement. Nobody does it like them in other states. To you all and to other partners, we need your continued support to expand this movement, whether through policy advocacy, grassroots organizing, funding or resourcing the movement, or building coalitions. You all play a critical role in ensuring that this issue retains its momentum and rises to the forefront of the national agenda. The future is not a distant horizon. It is here, now, in the faces of young people. The movement to lower the voting age is not a radical idea. It is a long overdue correction to a democracy that should serve all of its people. And as we leave this room today, let us carry with us the feeling that we are going to be on the right side of history. The future of our democracy depends on us expanding it, ensuring it reflects the voices, hopes, and dreams of every generation. Let us seize this moment of opportunity and make the promise of a representative and just democracy real for all. Thank you very much.
Give it up one more time for Lawan. great way to bring our day to a close. All right, y'all gonna have to hear me speak just a little bit longer with a few parting thoughts, but before we do that, we're gonna do our final raffle. Got some feedback, y'all don't wanna wait. So we're gonna do our final raffle. I wanna invite my friend Kevin Jones to the stage. He's gonna help me pull these. All right, so again, want to thank the people and organizations that donated these gift cards to support our youth. The first one was actually donated by Lawan Allen, who you just heard from, who just gave that amazing closing speech. I'm not gonna give the background on Vote 16 USA because we heard it a lot today, but as you know, they're leading the national movement. We're really grateful to Lawan for donating this gift card. And then the second gift card was donated by Gabby Weiss LaMonica. She's a social media manager at Next Gen America. She actually led the Going Viral workshop earlier today, if anybody was able to attend that. And so Next Gen America's mission is to empower young voters to engage in the political process and ensure our government is responsive to the largest and most diverse generation in American history. So thank you, Gabby. Thank you, Lawan. And Kevin. Kevin is with the NAACP, Camden County East Youth Council, the award-winning, let me not forget. Let me not forget. Kevin's been great. He's been coming to our coalition's cause. He's been helping lead some of the webinars that we're doing. Kevin's a great youth leader in his own right. So Kevin is gonna pick 2 tickets, read them out.
So we have 00986914. Again, 00986914. All right. Okay. 00986905. 00986905. No winners? Okay. Okay. 00986911. Uh-oh. 00986910. Oh, huh. It's a yellow ticket, guys. Make sure you're looking at your yellow ticket. Huh? Okay. So 00986911. Oh, we got it. We got a winner. All right, come on out. And then, oh,
I'm doing Scout's honor. Like we're good.
yep. All right, we keep going. Okay. Oh. And then they're gonna get this. They're gonna get that as well. They're gonna Yes. Okay. All right, I just did. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're gonna be giving out is this right here from the Camden County East Youth Council. So 00986907. 00986907. 00. Make sure you're looking at your yellow ticket. 986840. Okay. The last number was 00986840. Oh. 00986903. Oh. Just keep going. Okay. Oh. Okay. It was 00986903. All right, we have a winner. Wait, hold on. This is the one you just gave me? Which one you gave me? This one? Okay, yeah, we have it right here. All right. Here you go. You're welcome. All right, we have one more. Okay. Cross your fingers, cross your fingers. All right. We have 00986883. Do we have a winner? We have a winner? The number was 00986883. Okay. That's it. It's no more. Just need confirmation.
All right, congrats to our winners. And thank you, Kevin. Give a round of applause for Kevin, please. Okay, y'all, so before we wrap up, I just want to take a moment to say thank you and shout out all of you, every single one of you for being here today. I want to thank you for your energy, your ideas, and just your commitment to youth power and building a movement that is truly reflective of this great state. So this summit may be ending, but the reality is, like so many of our speakers said today, the real work is just getting started, right? We have to be asking ourselves, what comes next? And I really challenge you all to take a moment to ask yourselves, what will I take from this summit? And what commitment will I make after the summit to furthering this movement? Ask yourself what you will do once you leave here today, whether it's something small, like emailing your legislator, or it's something really big, like organizing your whole school in a rally or a march. Maybe you're gonna register the voters in your neighborhood, the youth voters in your school, and get them to the polls. Maybe you're gonna host a candidate forum. Whatever it is, make some commitment today to take the skills that you learned here and use it, as a way to build the momentum. So I encourage you, take a look at those folders that we gave you early this morning. One of the handouts on there includes 4 recommended steps for next steps, for the actions that you can take to get involved in the movement if this was your first introduction, or to stay involved if you've already been coming to coalition meetings, you already have an interest. So take a look at that and ask yourself again what you can do. Again, take a look in your folders. Because before you go, we're going to ask that you take a moment to just complete the feedback form, the feedback survey that was included in there. There's a QR code that you can scan. It'll take you a minute, maybe 2, just to give us some feedback on what we did well today, what we could improve on, just generally what you thought of this. There's some people already floating, doing this again next year. Somebody said next semester, which is just, whoa. But if we do this again, we want to make sure that we're always improving, all right? So please give us a moment, take a moment to give us some feedback. Oh, and then last thing, I want to highlight that we will actually be handing out certificates. Yeah, certificates to all of the youth who attended today. These certificates will recognize your leadership and the new skills and knowledge that you now bring to the social justice movement. So on your way out, be sure to stop by our registration table. It's not a check-in table anymore, it's gonna be checkout, and pick up your certificate. If you don't pick it up, if someone might have left, we'll be sure to mail it out. All right, and then I wanna leave you with a closing quote that I hope inspires your journey forward. When I heard this quote a few years ago, I felt so profound. I was like, wow, it shook. So I hope it has the same effect. So it goes, another world is not only possible, she's on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. All right. So I hope that each of you will remember that you have the power to craft the world that you want to live in. Whether it's from in your school board, where we're starting, or it's at your city council, or maybe eventually we're talking about voting for president, right? And past the ballot box too. You have the power to build the world you want to live in. So let's keep this movement going and work together to build a truly fair and open multiracial democracy where we all truly matter. Yeah, and with that, it's time for dinner. All right, thank you all. Have a great night. Get home safe. Please take food on the way out. We have dinner, but we also have food from earlier. So I encourage you, there's gonna be a lot of food left over. Take whatever you want. We have plates, we have snacks. If you requested a kosher meal, same announcement as earlier, please come see me so we can get that ready for you. Thank you.